from 10 to 11. It's time to get up and get your day started. Morant. It's Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Now, here are your hosts, Greg and Eli.
Good morning and welcome in. It is another chilly start to your day here in Memphis and the Mid-South. But hey, it is Friday. And hey, it could be worse. Could be Cleveland and that weather they had last night for the NFL Thursday night football action to kick off a new week of the NFL. But yes, indeed, we don't have the snow, but it is chilly once again, just 34 degrees right now here in Memphis as we kick off another edition of Sports 56 Mornings on this Friday, November 22nd, 2024. Good to have you with us here in the Family Leisure Studios. I am Eli Savoy. Greg is off today. Elijah Seegers is here, so it's the Eli party going on here in the Family Leisure Studios on this Friday. We do expect a lot of sunshine today, but not going to warm up a whole bunch. Get into the low 50s. That's what we're expecting for today. As again, we kick off the morning with 34-degree temperatures. Over the weekend, looking fairly nice and going to warm up, especially Sunday. Sunday is supposed to get up into the upper 60s. Tomorrow, upper 50s, near 60. But a lot of sunshine and no real chance of rain expected over the weekend. Monday, it looks like could be our next chance of rain in the forecast. Welcome on into the Family Leisure Studios. Family Leisure, that's where family and fun come together. The ultimate game room and fall sale going on right now. Of course, the holidays are upon us. Next week, a week from today, is Black Friday. So people will be out thinking about doing all that shopping, taking advantage of great deals all over the place, including at Family Leisure. And whatever it is that you're looking for, you can certainly make somebody on that holiday gift list very, very happy with something from Family Leisure. Complete the ultimate game room with a new pool table, shuffleboard or arcade games. Check out their overstock of theater seating right now that is priced to move. It is fire pit weather right now. Fire pit's 20 to 30% off. Not only is it fire pit weather, it's hot tub weather. I enjoy my hot tub from Family Leisure, and this is the time of year. This is a great time of year to have one of those hot tubs from Family Leisure. Spas up to $1,500 off in stock and ready for delivery. Family Leisure, 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40. Go check them out. We have, as always, a very busy Friday show today. A lot of different things to get into. We will let you know that, as normal, our buddy John Varlas will be stopping by, joining us here in the Family Leisure Studios in about 20 minutes or so. It is another night of high school football action, quarterfinal action from around the state in the state playoffs here in Tennessee. And obviously there are some area teams in action, and John will give us all the update on that. Plus the high school basketball season has tipped off as well. So we'll talk a little high school basketball with John coming up at the end of this hour. He'll join us in about 20 minutes or so. Also, our normal Friday regular, Brandon Lang, will be here in his normal time slot at about 9:25 in our final hour today, and we'll get him to handicap the action coming up this weekend in both college football and the NFL as well. And also in the 9 o'clock hour today, to kick off the 9 o'clock hour, former longtime ESPN personality Kenny Mayne will be joining us here as he has a new documentary that is out called Kenny Mayne's Wiffle Ball. And this is a story about a thing that he did years ago, a news story about throwing a wiffle ball in a speed contest, basically against Ken Griffey Jr. Way back when. This happened in 1989. And we'll let Kenny tell why this is the project that he wanted to do, what you will see in this project. and everything else. It's available on Fubo Sports. And we'll also check in and see what else Kenny Mayne has been up to since he left ESPN just a few years ago. We, of course, have the kickoff of the NFL week last night with the snowy game in Cleveland that we will get to. Of course, the Tigers, and I'm sure many of you probably a little groggy this morning. You stayed up to the end of that one last night. Probably tough to get up this early this morning. Elijah and I both did it. I got to be honest, I struggled to get to the end of that game, but I made it. I was happy when it finally ended, and they couldn't possibly call any more fouls in that game. But the Tigers out west in San Francisco, they get a win last night, and we'll talk a lot about that. Ole Miss was in action last night. Tennessee was in action last night. Had a thriller. Great game between Baylor and St. John's. From the NBA, speaking of thrillers, thriller last night out in L.A. The NBA is they're trying again. They've gone back to the drawing board. They've gone to will go, it looks like, to another all-star game format to see if they can find anything that possibly works. So we'll tell you about what the new format will be for the NBA's All-Star Game. The Major League Baseball MVP awards were handed out yesterday. There was no surprise in that. And I don't know if people knew this or realized this, because I certainly didn't until it actually got started last night, and I got an alert on my phone, and then I watched some of it. But the match, we have a new match that is underway, and it's a 2-day event. Last night was the first night. And tonight we'll have night number 2 of the match, which includes no professional golfers this time, just some athletes and other superstars from the entertainment world. So that is underway, and they have night number 2 of that coming up later on tonight on TNT. They'll be showing day number 2 of the match coming up today. So that's just some of the stuff that we'll be getting to on today's program. As always, of course, if you want to chime in, you are welcome to do so. The Sissy's Log Cabin listener line is available to you at 901-360-8255, 901-360-8255, the Sissy's Log Cabin listener line for you to either call or text us on that when you have the opportunity to do so. We certainly welcome those calls and texts here on Sports 56 Mornings. So, Elijah, I asked you, you said you did make it to the end of the game last night. It was a bit of a struggle for us to do so and then get up today. But I'll give this to the Tigers. They have an MO this year, obviously. They are consistent. Bad in the first half, great in the second half, and last night it held up once again.
Yeah, I mean, as long as it ends up in wins, it's a good formula, I suppose. We'll see if it holds up against the UConn Huskies. I don't know if, it's a reliable formula to hold up against them, but it's worked so far.
Yeah, I don't know if I would recommend the Tigers in their game Monday when they will face UConn, of course, the 2-time reigning champions of college basketball. I would not recommend going 6 of 25 from the field in the first half against UConn.
No, it wouldn't help.
You may dig a hole that is way too big to come back from. But last night, in the first half, the Tigers, 6 of 25 from the field, 2 for 7 from three-point range, 8 for 14 at the free throw line, and 10 turnovers. Which, just hearing those numbers, you would think they would be down by 20 basically to anybody. I mean, we're talking 6 of 25. When you're shooting less than 25% from the field, you expect to be blown out. But the good thing was their defense kept them in the game, as San Francisco was just 11 of 31 from the field, 4 for 16 from three-point range, 5 for 9 at the free throw line, and they had 7 turnovers themselves. And so it was only a 9-point deficit at the half. And then in the second half, the Tigers did what they do. They came out storming out of the locker room, had a 10-0 run early in the second half. They took the lead and then were able to hold on down the stretch by making free throws, a ton of them down the stretch in order to hold on. as they end up getting the win 68-64. They outscore USF, the other USF, because, of course, we have USF South Florida in the conference, but this is University of San Francisco. 46-33 was the second half margin of victory. In that second half, again, after they went 6 of 25 in the first half, Tigers go 13 of 27 from the field, 5 for 12 from three, and probably the most important thing, 15 of 17 at the free throw line, again, because they needed them down the stretch to hold on to that lead and get out of there with the win. They held San Francisco in the second half to 9 of 30 from the field and still just 2 of 12 from three-point range. So in the game, San Francisco ends up shooting 6 for 28 from three-point range as the Tigers get the victory in this one. So they start this very long road trip with a victory, 1-0 now as they head to Maui, and that will start on Monday. The action out in Maui will start on Monday. And we'll see what they can do against UConn and others. Because you've got very good UConn team, and then you've got a lot of other good teams that are out there in Maui. Again, if you look at it, I would just go by I would guess what the lines will be. That will be the Tigers probably the most likely thing. If the favored teams win out there, I would guess that 1 and 2 is the most likely scenario. But obviously, there's no guarantees of that. It'll be a very tough task against UConn. If you were to lose to UConn, which again, the UConn will certainly be favored in that one, then you would be looking at probably Colorado. You would expect that would be the case. Colorado's a game you would expect to win. And then in your third game, good chance a team like Iowa State, who again is a very good one. So that would be a very tough one as well, but certainly a very winnable game. But in the end, we talked about it earlier in the week. If you could go 2-2 on this road trip, I think that is acceptable. But a 1-3 road trip, that would be a bit disappointing. Now, with this win, you certainly don't expect to go 0-3 out in Maui. So it looks like you would be at least 2-2 now on the road trip. And hopefully you could go 3-1 or 4-0 would be amazing. And this win over San Francisco is a win that I think will look good at the end of the year. This will be a quality win. It's considered a neutral, but really not, because it wasn't played at San Francisco's actual home arena. It is considered a neutral court, but obviously you're playing in their hometown. But San Francisco is right now, after the game last night, San Francisco is number 52 in the KenPom rankings. So again, that's a team that's, and I would expect kind of hang around that area at worst. So that is that will be in the end a quality win, I think, for the Tigers that will hold up very well throughout the season. And then obviously you got plenty of opportunities coming up here in Maui to get some more quality wins. Last night, Dain Dainja coming off the bench for the first time, and he was absolutely fantastic. 18 points, 7 rebounds, 6 of 10 from the field, and very importantly, 6 of 7 at the free throw line. So we have seen Moussa Cisse, who now last night he was 4 for 9 at the free throw line. He did not, but we have seen games where Cisse has shot free throws well. Last night, Dainja shot free throws very well. And those two guys, that's a bonus when you can get that out of those two guys. You'd love to get it consistently, but you'll take it when you can get it. In Dainja last night, and he had 2 of those big free throws down the stretch that he did make. But 18 points, 7 rebounds, 3 block shots, and a couple of steals for Dainja off the bench. And they needed it because it was really the first night we've seen PJ Haggerty struggle a little bit. Ends up with 13 points, but just 2 of 9 from the field. 7 of 8, though, from the free throw line, which was huge. And he did make 2 of 3. What's crazy about Haggerty is the only 2 field goals he made last night were 3-pointers. We've seen how good he is at finishing at the rim, getting to the basket, scoring that way. He was 0 for 6 from 2-point range last night, which is just unbelievable to see that out of him. But he, again, 13 points, did have 7 rebounds, 3 steals. Tyrese Hunter had 4 steals in the game as well for the Tigers. Also in double figures. Or those Danger and Haggerty were the only 2 in double figures. Colby Rogers had 9. He was 3 of 7 from 3-point range. Jourdain, pretty efficient again, 7.7 rebounds. Didn't take many shots in the game for him. But Danger certainly was the star of the night, and he did it coming off the bench for the first time. 18 points and 7 rebounds. So the Tigers now 4-0 on the season. The first half of that game, Elijah, obviously was brutal. The shooting was absolutely awful. But it also, I kind of felt like it was very difficult for either team to get any sort of rhythm because it felt like there was a foul called on basically every possession.
Yeah, it was very, very slow-paced. It was hard to get anything going, so I kind of don't blame the Tigers for their struggles to string a few scores together with all the whistles that were being called.
There were 23 first-half fouls called. There ended up being 49 fouls called in this game. I mean, and that's why the game ended up taking 2 hours and 20 minutes, something like that. I know it was somewhere around 11:30 or so, or when it ended, a little bit before 11:30. But man, oh man, that's hard to watch when you've got a 40-minute game with 49 fouls called, 58 free throws attempted in this game last night. It's just brutal. That's one of the problems college basketball has with trying to draw in viewers is some of these games, it just becomes a foul fest. And I'm not saying, I thought there were some certainly that the officials could let go. Could have, I don't know, that's a little ticky-tack. But with the way some of these teams want to guard you, they just foul a lot. Just the bottom line is they foul a lot. And it was happening last night. Again, I thought the officials kind of got a little whistle happy, but there was a lot of fouling going on as well. The Tigers, they want to be very aggressive defensively. Now, the problem for them is, again, without a ton of players, they can't afford to get in too much foul trouble. And in that first half, you had Jourdain pick up 2, you had Rogers pick up 2, you had Hunter pick up 2, you had Danger, who got the foul plus the technical. So he had 2. So you that's stuff you can't, Penny normally in years past has been one of the guys who, as far as if a guy got 2 first half fouls, he was out. You weren't playing because he had plenty of guys to put in. This year, though, he didn't have that option. So guys are having to play if they pick up 2 fouls in the first half. As a matter of fact, KenPom tracks that of how much guys play with 2 fouls in the first half. This is the difference. This is crazy. This is for Penny and Memphis. Last year for the season, 2 foul participation. So this is the amount of time that guys play in the first half when they have 2 fouls. Last year, for the season, Memphis only had 7.8%. So 7.8% of the minutes available for guys with 2 fouls in the first half, they played. So far this year, through the first 4 games, they're at 35.7%. Again, it's just a numbers thing. If these guys all have 2 fouls, who are you putting into the game? So the guys are having to play with 2 fouls in the first half. I mean, Penny, every single year, has been in the 300s, I believe, basically rank-wise in the country in that statistic of guys playing with 2 fouls. This year, they're 72nd. Get 35.7%. But they did get a win. Again, in a great second half. If they could figure out the second half stuff in the first half of games, this team could be really, really dangerous. I mean, they've been trailing at the half of 3 of the 4 games. They have, and even the Ohio game, while they weren't trailing, they were only up by 5. The other 3 they've been trailing, but they have completely dominated the second half of every one of the games. If you want to chime in on the Tigers on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener line, you can do so. Got a texter here, says the whistles were blowing last night. Yikes. I think the Tigers were surprised with USF's athleticism. Haggerty got pickpocketed so bad going down the stretch, I don't think he realized he didn't have the ball for a few steps. Fun game, though. Go Tigers, go. If you want to chime in, you can. We will get back to the Tigers and the rest of college basketball from last night. Ole Miss picking up a win. They put up 100 last night and got a dominant win over Oral Roberts. Tennessee got a nice win last night in an ugly game, which is what you can expect when you play Virginia. But Tennessee dominated and got a blowout victory over Virginia last night, holding them to 42 points in that game. So we'll get to some of that later on in the program and get to your texts and your calls as well on the Tigers. Again, if you stayed up to the end of that Tigers game, probably a little slow to get going this morning as that one ended late last night. But up next, we shift gears. We'll talk some high school football and some high school basketball as John Varlas from the Daily Memphian will join me next here in studio from the Family Leisure Studios. Sports 56 mornings here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Be sure to follow us at Sports 56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows. Stay up to date with station events and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports 56 WHBQ.
Nestled in the heart of East Memphis, located corner of Park and Cherry, is a beautiful residential neighborhood. I'm here at Town Village Audubon Park interviewing a new resident, Carolyn. Share with us why you chose Town Village.
Well, if your parents or special friends need to make that big move, let me share with you my experience. It was tough for me to leave home, but then I discovered Town Village. I would like to highly recommend Town Village to you and your loved ones. After looking at all the amenities and meeting all the people and staff, I was hooked. From restaurant, bistro, 3 meals per day, housekeeping, transportation, security, health care, physical therapy, exercise room, and even a heated pool and spa. Come see us and make your new home at Town Village.
Visit us and call Daniel at Town Village Audubon Park at 901-374-7342. There's no place like home, Town Village.
Family Leisure needs your help. Family Leisure has inventory they've got to move because you know what season is coming up. So why wait? You can complete your ultimate game room with a new pool table, a new shuffleboard, new arcade games, or just get all of them. Tons and tons of theater seating, overstocked and priced to move. 'Tis the season for fire pits, and all fire pits at Family Leisure are 20 to 30% off. You say you didn't get a spa this year? Well, say no more. Spas are in stock and they're ready for delivery and up to $1,500 off. These are just a few of the deals happening right now for a very limited time. So come on, check out the gigantic showroom. You never know what kind of deal you're going to find at Family Leisure, Witten Road at I-40, where family and fun come together.
Hi, it's the Herd. The Emirates NBA Cup is here. You can win big getting in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Will LA repeat? We'll find out soon. Rim-rattling slams, no-look passes. Get behind your favorite players. And the prop bets you can make on DraftKings, the home of NBA player props. It's fun. If you're ready to place your first bet, try something simple, like picking a team to win. All you do is go to DraftKings Sportsbook app, 90 seconds. Download it, make your pick. First time? Here's something special just for you. New DraftKings customers bet $5, just $5, to get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. So score big with DraftKings Sportsbook. Every point counts. Download their app. The code is HERD, H-E-R-D, for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets, betting just $5 if you win. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bet must win to receive reward. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/bball.
Getting engaged soon? Don't make her settle for one of those knockoff mass-produced rings you find at most jewelry stores. Get to Genesis Diamonds and get her that one-of-a-kind ring she really wants from a world-class designer. Hey, it's Eric Hasseltine, and Genesis Diamonds has the rings on every woman's wish list. Truly handcrafted rings made in the USA. From names like Tacori, Garagio, and dozens more. We're not even allowed to sell these amazing brands when you can get them at Genesis. This is one amazing store. Owned by a former diamond wholesaler, every diamond is straight from the gutter with rock bottom prices, and nothing's held back. They'll show you the inside secrets of the diamond business and teach you how to buy like a dealer buys. They can also explain the differences between natural and lab-grown diamonds, so you can buy with total confidence. We're lucky to have Genesis here, so check them out. It's extended. You won't thank me. Check them out online at genesisdiamonds.com.
Since 1948, in the alley, the Rendezvous. I'm with John Burgess. John, what's going on in the Rendezvous?
There's some things about the Rendezvous I want to talk about. For example, we make it really easy to park. We have valet parking right at Monroe Street in our alley. We also want to make it easy for people to get to doors. You can now park in our alley right at our front door and put your flashers on. People also forget that we take reservations for 6 or more. And we have a wonderful party room upstairs that can accommodate people for rehearsal dinners, birthday parties, reunions, graduations. Our rooms seat between 25 and 275 people. And everything at the Rendezvous can be packed to go. We also do catering. See our menu online, and we can even deliver for groups of 15 or more. So if you have any questions, always feel free to call us at the Rendezvous because we answer our phone ourselves. You'll never hear, please listen carefully for our menu has changed. Press 1 for reservations, press 2 for hours, press 3 for catering, or if you know your party's 9-digit extension number and the first 3 letters of the mother's maiden name, dial it now. Come see us at the Rendezvous.
Since 1948, the Rendezvous.
Ole Miss Rebel Yell is back. The Rebel Yell Hotline Radio Show is back on WHBQ Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Every Monday night at 6, hear the latest news on your Ole Miss Rebels with Yancey Porter with 24/7 Sports. Former Ole Miss defensive tackle Mike Fitzsimmons, Gordon Ford covering SEC Sports Call, and former Ole Miss baseball announcer Gary Darby. From kickoff to free throw to extra innings, your Ole Miss Sports on the Rebel Yell Hotline Show. Right here Monday night at 6 on Sports 56, 560 AM and 98.5 FM. Your Mid-South Sports Station.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning, Memphis PD. Still on the scene of this nasty crash. It's been over here for a while. It's going to be right there at Winbrook and Winchester. Again, try to stay away from that intersection for a while until they can get this mess cleaned up over here at Winchester and Winbrook on this crash. It's building now on 51 coming southbound out of Millington. Watching it increase now. Certain sections of 385 Billmorris Parkway coming inbound. Hey, when you need dependable towing for your car or truck, especially with this winter weather coming, make sure you call Marion Towing, your 24-hour towing service. Log on to mariontowing.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Now back to Sports 56 mornings.
Good morning.
On Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, 7:29 the time here in the Family Leisure Studios. We're up to 35 degrees. We've gone up 1 degree so far this morning. Again, highs today expected to be in the low 50s, but plenty of sunshine is expected out there. Get the Tigers winners last night. If you stayed up late to watch that, good morning to you. Get you a cup of coffee and get ready for your day. I'm sure you're going to need it to get going this morning. We're going to get going, though, talking some high school football.
It's time for Greg and Eli's weekly visit with John Vargas of the Daily Memphians. For John's prep sports coverage and much more at Daily
He is indeed the award-winning prep reporter for the Daily Memphian. So much more. And he's brought to you each and every week by Shoot 360 Memphis. He is John Varlas. What's up, John?
Hey, what's up, Eli? Happy Friday to you, and happy Friday to Elisha. And yes, may I echo your sentiments? It's cold outside.
It is cold. I don't like this stuff at all.
Yeah, my wife.
Miserable.
My wife woke up and suggested I put on an extra layer today, and I am thankful for her for that suggestion. I'm glad I did. It's nippy out there.
Yeah, I don't. The 30s just don't. I know. I mean, again, this is way better than this. Why I came south to get away from this, because this used to be like balmy this time of year. And when I watched that game last night, watching the highlights right here of that Cleveland Pittsburgh game, makes me feel a lot better about being down south. But yeah, I don't need no 34-degree mornings to get my day started. But Shoot 360 Memphis,
where preps and pros go to get their game on. The new location, it's hard to call it new anymore. It's been rocking and rolling since July out there in Cordova on Big Orange Road. They're going strong. And, of course, the original one there in Collierville, you can be a member at one or both. You can do monthly memberships. You can do longer-term memberships. But whatever you do, you will have access to the same great services that Shoot 360 Memphis provides. The same analytics to track what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong with your shot. The same real-time data feedback, and the same expert coaching. So it's just a great facility. Basketball season is here. So if you're a mom or dad or grandma or grandpa or good friend looking for a Christmas present or anything, just any kind of present for your young basketball player, give Shoot 360 Memphis a call. You can give them a call in Cordova, 901-779-3176, or Collierville there on Market Street, 901-316-5500. Shoot 360 Memphis. Tell them JV sent you, and get your game on out there.
Other than the cold weather, which is the bone I have to pick, do you come bearing a bone today?
Well, I know I'm going to approach this with a little trepidation, because I know you and I disagree on this subject. But yesterday I saw possibly the most egregious violation of bathroom etiquette I've ever seen in my life. So as we've well established, at least in my opinion, and in the opinion of many others, the rule is when you have a 3-stall setup, one guy takes the far left, one guy takes the far right, leaves the middle open. Mm-hmm. Unless it's unavoidable, you don't take the middle. I think that's where we agree. We agree that sometimes that's not.
When possible, always leave space in between.
Okay, so yesterday I was at a place, I won't say where to protect the guilty, but so there was a gentleman in there, 3-stall setup. The gentleman was on the left. Sounds good. There's another guy in there standing by the sink, messing with his hair, whatever. I don't know what he's doing. But then he goes in and takes the right stall. So far, so good, right?
We're following etiquette.
We're perfect, right, to this point. Now, I come in, I set my backpack down, and I'm getting ready to head over there, and the first guy has left, okay? So the left side is now vacant. So follow me. The left side is vacant, and the right side is being okay. The guy that was on the right moves to the middle.
Wait, he moved midstream?
I don't know about that. I couldn't see. But he switched positions. He moved to the middle. When the guy on the left, the guy that was on the right moved to the middle. And I'm like, what in the world?
That.
Do you know what I did?
What'd you do?
I turned around and left and went to another.
Probably a smart move. That guy's clearly deranged.
Not only did I leave the restroom, I left the premises immediately and went down the road to another location, because you're right. I mean,
what could possibly
what are we doing?
Be the reason for that?
What are we doing here, Eli Savoy? I don't even want to speculate. I mean, your argument that he was, not well is probably as good as any. But I've never.
I don't think I've ever seen a guy just get up and move.
So you agree that is completely egregious?
That is
right?
uncalled for. That you borderline criminal. It's like
I think there should be indeed charges for something like that. I can't figure it out. It sent me into. I was having a pretty good day yesterday. It sent me into a real tailspin for the rest of the evening. Thankfully, I was able to go to a basketball game after that and ran into some familiar faces and they cheered me back up. But that was
that one I got no answers for.
Yeah,
that one that's a case study that would need to be done on somebody.
That's an all timer, and I'm just wanted to share that again with the male population out there. Where I think we're doing better as a society as a whole in following these social norms, and I would love to see it continue. But then from time to time, things like this occur, and you're just like. You're just at a loss for words at this point.
It's amazing how I always, when I go into places now and if something like that happens, I always think of like, oh gosh, Varlas would lose his mind.
Yeah,
right now.
well,
I mean, at the Grizzlies game, the all timer for me was at a Grizzlies game where literally there is, I don't know, there's probably 15 urinals in the row, and I was in there. I was the only one in there. And I was on the, I think, far left. And somebody came in and took the one right next to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like,
yeah.
Really? You don't see the other, I don't know, 10, 12, 14, whatever. You thought, can't walk any farther. Got to go to this one.
Yeah. That's the kind of thing that would just.
That would be the only time I would see somebody moving is like if, in that case, if I decided, you know what? I'll just move down there to get away from you.
Yeah, that would send me, something like that would send me completely around the bend. I might have to be institutionalized after something like that.
I remember thinking that night. I'm like, oh God, Varlas would probably fight the guy.
Well, like I said, not only did I leave the restroom, I left the building altogether and went down the road.
I can't even imagine the need to move in the middle.
Yeah,
that's a crazy one to me. Yeah. Never seen that. Never witnessed that one myself. Hope to never do it.
First time for everything, buddy.
All right, we're going to get obviously to high school football, but I did want to start with we lost a legend in high school sports.
Kind of an awkward transition.
Yes.
But yeah.
But I mean, Terry Tippett, obviously one of the true legends. I mean, the wins, the state championships, everything speaks for itself, and certainly a guy who had a great impact on many, many lives here in Memphis.
Yeah, for sure. And I was really thankful to put together what what a lot of people have said was a really nice story about Coach Tippett. He died Saturday, 79 years old. He had been sick for a while. He'd been declining health for a while, and just sad. Not one of the things that's wasn't totally expected to the people around him, but it's still very sad nevertheless. And Eli, you can measure his impact strictly on basketball, 902 victories, which is the second most of any coach in Shelby County behind Jerry Peters. 6 state championships. He's the only coach, only boys coach in Tennessee history to win championships at 3 different programs. He won a program at Tresvant in the early 80s. He won a championship at ECS in 2011, and he won, of course, that 4 championships with those great White Station teams. But even aside from all that, all the victories, all the titles, all the halls of fame that he's in, I mean, it was the guys that he impacted that are now men, with families of their own, and how he just kind of impacted their lives and his philosophy of basketball and how that carried over into life. One of the incredible things researching the article, Eli, one of his state championship years, so they won a state championship at White Station, and the leading scorer on the team averaged 9.4 points per game.
That's so crazy.
And it's because he was playing, 12, 13, 14 guys on a pretty regular basis every game. And to have that level of buy-in and commitment and to get kids to sacrifice for the greater good of the team and all that stuff, it's just something that it was rare back then, and to see it, to think of it now with the current climate of the way things have changed mentality wise in sports. it's impossible to think about replicating something like that now. So, yeah, Terry Tippett was a legend, a great man, and I think Dayton Bradshaw said it best, in my article. I mean, he's got kids now, and he's looking for the right basketball program for his kids, and he says, I'm looking for another Terry Tippett, but there's not one out there.
Yeah, that's for sure.
And there never will be one out there. So, yeah, you're right. We lost a good man and a real giant in Memphis high school basketball.
Yeah, Dane on with us earlier in the week. He was just the way he talks about him. You can just tell about how impactful he was in Dane's life and everything, and certainly all of those kids.
Yeah, I mean, but all the D Wilkes, who I talked to from our article, the coach at St. George's, we talked about the substitution thing with Coach Tippett, and you could just tell the pride in Coach Wilkes' voice. He said, "Yeah, we substituted a lot, when I was a senior, but he always left me on the floor," and he was just so proud. You could tell even 25 years later, he's so proud that Coach Tippett entrusted to keep him on the floor and run the team regardless of who else was out. Little things like that. Stephen Casper, who's now the girls coach at ECS, he told the story of how he was, he had words with a referee or an opposing player during a game, and he got called into Coach Tippett's office the next day, and Coach Tippett passed him a piece of paper, which was essentially a contract, and said, sign this, and basically it said, if that happens again, you're out of here. And here, here's the best player on the team. He was a Mr. Basketball finalist that year. He was All-State that year. He had a scholarship to Bucknell. Clearly an awesome basketball player, but Coach Tippett, for him or the 12th guy on the bench, he wasn't going to tolerate it, and that's just the kind of guy he was, and the lessons he imparted.
High school basketball season got underway this week. Anything noteworthy here in this first few days?
Well, I think we've seen the emergence of some really talented freshmen. Honestly, Bartlett started 2 freshmen in their victory the other night against Fayette Ware, Braylon Williams and DJ Okoth. So to start as freshmen on a team like Bartlett shows, they were the 2 of the kids that came from that Great Elmore Park program, I believe. Which is just a middle school machine apparently. But they've moved right into the starting lineup at Bartlett, and that speaks volumes, I think, for their ability. Over there at MUS, they have two outstanding freshman guards, Tashim Elohim, who was the leading scorer the other night against Kirby, and Jamarian Chapman, who came off the bench to score 11 points. There's a talented young freshman at St. George's playing for the aforementioned Coach D. Wilkes, Carson Crump, who put up some good numbers in his first game. So, yeah, some of these freshmen coming right out of the gate playing really well. I like what Southwind has done early. 2 games, 2 victories, one over Melrose, and then last night over Fayette Ware. And, in both of those games, they had 4 double-figure scorers. So I know, Coach Edwards likes to see that, spreading the wealth, sharing it around. You got 2 games and 4 double-figure scores in each. That's going to keep everybody happy and keep them satisfied. And we'll talk about this obviously more as the year unfolds. But I think Southwind really has a chance to be special this year. They brought back a lot of talent from last year, and they've added a couple of really good kids from the old transfer portal, and I think they have a chance. I really do. But yeah, those are the things that stand out right now. And of course, I'll be remiss if I don't mention Fred Smith at Briarcrest. The competition they've played in the first 2 games hasn't been great, but Fred Smith went 10 for 10 in his first game, and then last night against Oak Haven, he made his first 11 shots before he finally missed one. So he started the year making 21 consecutive field goal attempts. And the thing I love about Fred is I don't think I've ever seen him take a 3-point shot, which, for on the high school level, you play to your strengths, use your hands, use your post moves, finish around the rim, get the easy 2. And that's what he's doing. Really doing a good job of playing within himself. And I think he's just a junior, and I think that kid's just going to.
How big is he?
He's 6'7". And the thing of it is, he's got the ball handling skills. He's probably the best passing big man in I'll say it. He's probably the best passing big man in the state. He had a triple-double last year in the state tournament. Just an incredibly skilled, really, really good basketball player. And we'll have a little feature on Briarcrest coming next week and how they're adjusting to life without Cooper Haynes and all the other great guys from last year's state championship team. But, man, they still got Fred, and that's going to take them a long way. He is fun to watch.
We will shift gears and talk football. We got some quarterfinal games featuring area teams, some of them featuring two area teams facing off, and we'll get to that when we come back here. John Varlas from the Daily Memphian with us here in studio. Sports 56 mornings here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to real sports talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Guns, and more guns. Over 700 firearms in stock. Home defense guns, old guns, new guns, used guns, big guns, little guns. Every gun you can think of, Classic Arms has them. All brands like Glock, Sig, Colt, Ruger, Smith & Wesson, Browning, Beretta, Benelli, Remington, Winchester, and more. Guaranteed lowest prices in town. Only gun importer in the Mid-South. Free gun inspections and appraisals and free bore sighting for the upcoming deer season. Shop online at ClassicArmsofMemphis.com or visit Classic Arms at 1740 Germantown Parkway behind Quicky's Barbecue in Cordova.
If there's a better time of year to spend some time in the comfortable confines of Bell Tavern, I don't know what it is. This time of year when the air is getting crisp and college football, the NFL, the Grizzlies, and the Tigers are all playing is the ideal time to grab a seat at Memphis' best-kept secret. We say it all the time, and it's still true. You could go to some chain bar where people tend to make a lot of noise, or you could settle into Bell Tavern where people tend to act like adults. There will be cheering, and there will be jeering, but it won't be chaos because at Bell Tavern, it's assumed you'll act like a grown-up.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. I have been told that my ads are all business and I should share some of my personality. Okay, I love tongue twisters, like the one about the terrific tasting toast by Taste Tester Toaster, or Big Black Bugs, Bleed Blue Blood, and of course Sally and her seashells. Or of course the ever-present I'm a Mother Pheasant Plucker, I plug Mother Pheasants. Okay, enough of that. If you want an honest, fair, reasonable roofing, siding, or gutter estimate, call Fiveash Roofing at 367-0050. That's exactly what you'll get. No empty promises, no high-pressure sales tactics, and no fast-talking salesman trying to convince you that today and only today is the best day for you to get a new roof. For the record, the best day to get a new roof is when you're ready for one. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Fiveash Roofing is what we do. We're here for you.
Hey, Marty McNaid, I hear it's the signed and drive sales event at Gossett Volkswagen Germantown. Hit me with the scoop, dude.
Okay, Randy, how about zero down payment, zero security deposit, zero first month lease payment, and zero do-it signing?
Wow, zero down payment, zero security deposit, zero first month lease payment, zero do-it signing?
That's right, Randy. Plus 2024 Taos S, zero down at $337 per month.
And I hear you got $5,000 off 2024 Peak Editions and 0.9% for 60 months on 2024 Atlas and Cross Sports.
You heard right, Randy. $5,000 off 2024 Peak Editions and 0.9 for 60 months on 2024 Atlas and Cross Sports.
Great Scott, McNaid, you got it going on at Gossett Volkswagen Germantown. You need to get out there and see him. 7420 Winchester Road or shop online, GossettVWG.com. 7,500 miles per year. My rich house, Dr. Buckling, 123, 504, MSRP 26, 3 days, license registration fees, excludes BS 695, see dealer for details, dealer stock only with approved credit.
Now, back to Sports 56 Morning.
Morning.
On Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back here, 748 in the Family Leisure Studios. Greg off today. John Varlas in studio as he joins us each and every Friday. And we've got quarterfinal action tonight in the high school football playoffs here in the state of Tennessee. You will be over at Houston, and we will get the another battle. Collierville and Houston.
Yes, indeed. Collierville 11-1, Houston 10-2. Like you said, round two, the first game on November 1st was, just an extremely well-attended game. I don't know if there'll be quite that many people tonight because of the chill in the air, but, I still expect there's going to be a great crowd, so I would urge everyone to get there as early as you can. And yeah, it should be a great game. It should be just like the first one. Physical, close, hard hitting. I think if you're a Houston fan, you can take a tremendous amount of confidence in the fact that you won that first game against Collierville, and you didn't have Chandler Day for 98% of the game. He went out early with that injury and didn't return, and he came back last week against Bartlett, and looks like the Chandler Day of old. So that's a confidence bolster for Houston. Obviously, I think Collierville, they're going to look to try to wear Houston down up front with that big and impressive offensive line they have. Grant Troutman's going to have to make some plays in the passing game, and I think he can. He was excellent last week against Germantown, 3 touchdown passes. John Hampton ran the ball really well for Collierville in the first round of the playoffs. So they've clearly got some offensive weapons that can do the job. And again, I expect a close game. I'm not going to make a prediction on it. I will say that Houston has beaten Collierville 4 times in a row. So if you're a Collierville fan, you say, well, we're due. And if you're a Houston fan, you say, well, we can just do what we've been doing. So anyway, it's going to be fun. Regardless of who wins, there will be a semifinal game in Memphis next year. Either Collierville will host or next week, Collierville will host, or Houston will host a semifinal game. They'll host the winner between Ravenwood and Stewart's Creek. So good luck to Ravenwood and Stewart's Creek, and we'll see the winner of that one in Memphis next week against either Houston or Collierville.
In Class 4A, Melrose is hosting Dyer County, who comes in 11-1.
Yeah, Melrose is just playing some really good football, Eli. They got off to a 20-0 lead last week against Haywood. Haywood came back to take a 22-20 lead, and then Melrose took that punch and went on ahead and closed out that game, and they closed it out in part thanks to a 100-yard interception return from Jamarian Morrow, the Missouri commit, and we talked about this last week. They shifted him to quarterback for the playoffs, and it's really made a difference in their offense. He threw a long touchdown pass last week to Tavarco Jackson. He had another touchdown pass to Jaden Jones. He had a touchdown run, and of course the interception I mentioned. So he's playing great football, and this is kind of a Melrose revenge tour. They Haywood had eliminated from the playoffs in previous years, so they got Haywood last year. I think last year Dyer County eliminated them from the playoffs, or maybe the year before. So they've got this one circled as well. And again, Melrose is just on a roll. They've won 8 of their last 9 games. They're playing at home, so that's going to be an advantage. Dyer County has to make the long drive to Orange Mound, and I'm excited to see how Melrose does tonight. This is their first time in the quarterfinals since 2009.
Wow!
And a long time to have not been this far. But Melrose is Melrose. They've got some guys, and I think they have a chance tonight.
If they win, they'll host next week too.
They will. Anybody from Memphis who wins this week will host, because it's on a rotational system. So if Mace wins, they would host. Melrose, whoever. Yeah.
In 3A, we all knew this was coming, I guess. It was inevitable. It's another battle, Covington and Martin Westview.
And I really, truly think, Eli, the winner of this game will go on to win the 3A state championship. I think either one of these teams has a chance to beat, most likely, Alcoa in the final. And let me tell you what I did this week. They have the full Westview, the first Westview Covington game. The full game is on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
And it's a really and kudos to everybody at Westview that put this together. It's a really professional production. I mean, I've seen college games that weren't produced as well as this, but I've watched the game in bits and pieces over the week because I wanted to see. I just wanted to see what it looked like, and it was it was about what you expected. Neither team could stop the other. Graham Simpson completed a ton of big plays in the passing game for Westview, which I'm sure Covington has addressed in the meantime. They've simply got to do a better job, protecting against the deep ball and not letting guys run free. And at the same time, Westview couldn't stop Skyland Smith in that running game. I think one thing tonight that might play into Covington's hands is the weather. It's going to be colder, and it's simply harder to throw the ball and have an effective passing game when the weather is cold. Running game's always going to travel, so I don't know that it'll affect Covington that much. And I think that could be to their advantage tonight. But again, Westview's going to be the home team. Obviously, Graham Simpson and that group of receivers he's got are awesome, and they won the first one. So, we'll see. But I do like Covington's chances, particularly with the weather being what it will be like.
And he threw for how many yards in that first one again?
He threw for a state record, 624 yards. The 8 touchdowns is not a state record, believe it or not, but the 624 yards definitely is. And there were guys, just running. There were lots of yards after the catch, but there were lots of times where guys just, shot past their defender and he dropped the ball right in them for a long gain too. So
it's crazy.
So it's imperative for Covington to try to slow him down. They're not going to stop him, but they've definitely got to slow him down again this week.
Memphis Business Academy and Fairleigh in another Memphis battle here at John P. Freeman in Class 2A.
Yeah, the rematch from last year. Fairleigh won this game in the quarterfinals last year by a score of 30-0. And that defense for Fairleigh has just been so tremendous all year. They've won 10 games. They've had shutouts in 8 of them. They've only given up 15 points all year. So Memphis Business Academy, I'm stating the obvious here, but they're going to have to find a way to put some points on the board. Something that people haven't been able to do against Fairleigh. And offensively, Fairleigh with Andrew Johnson at quarterback and Zyra Short and Julian Porter and Kavion Rogers at running back. That's a really talented, well-rounded, all-around team. And, I like Fairleigh's chances to advance to the semifinals again. Like we said, they would be home next week as well. So, going to be a good local battle there at John P. Freeman. But I do like Fairleigh's chances to advance.
And then over at Crump Stadium, you got Mace hosting Union City.
Yep. Congrats to Daily Memphian Player of the Week, Christopher Watson from Mace. Mace got out the vote very nicely this week, and he won. So, big game for Christopher last week. He had a long pass catch and a long punt return against South Fulton. I think with Brody Whitaker there at quarterback, I think they've got a guy that can do some things, offensively for Mace that maybe they've not had in years past. So I like Whitaker at quarterback. Obviously Stanley Burrow at linebacker, one of the best linebackers, flat out in the state of Tennessee. He's just incredible. So they've got a lot going for them. Union City is a very tough team. That being said, they beat Mace in a second-round game last year. They beat them by 1 point. So I know, like Melrose, Mace has kind of had this game circled as well. And, again, they'll be at home, so that's going to complicate things for Union City. I do like Mace's chances. They're a well-coached group. They've got a ton of talent. Cedric Miller's been there, done that. He knows how to prepare a team for a big game, and I certainly think they'll be prepared, and I think it'll be a good, close, competitive game there at historic Crump Stadium tonight.
So I'll put you on the spot. I'm not going to ask you about winning state championships, but how many of our teams here do you think will be playing in state championship games?
Boy, that is a good question, Mr. Eli Savoy.
Because we know we got 2 in the semifinals. We guaranteed 2 in the semifinals.
Guaranteed 2 in the semifinals. I like Covington's chances. I'm gonna say 3 or 2. I'm gonna say 3.
3 teams will be playing for state championships.
I'm gonna say 3 teams will make it to Chattanooga. Yes.
Wow.
But
all right,
I'm sure that's wrong. I already don't like that. But
you've already. No, I give up. I don't like that one at all. Can I change?
I'm gonna say 3. I hope so. I hope at least 1 gets there because me and my love for Chattanooga.
Yes,
but, it's just a great event. If somebody like Melrose or Fairleigh or Mace were to go and just experience the Blue Cross Bowl and just the attention and playing in that big stadium and just the fun and all that. It's just a great event. Houston was there last year. I know they'd love to get back. Collierville, it would be great if they could experience, anybody. Covington, last time Covington went to the Blue Cross Bowl, the whole town of Covington was there. I think it was 2000. It was several years ago, and they played Knoxville Fulton, and the whole town of Covington was. It was just incredible.
That's the great. That's what's great, man. Especially those small towns, where the whole town just makes their way over there. It's It's a huge deal.
It is. I made the joke that you could rob a bank in Covington that day because nobody was there. I mean, they were all at Tennessee Tech. So and now it's at Chattanooga. But yeah, I really hope at least somebody. I'll say 3. You know, I'm already not comfortable with that, but you know, just go get them, boys. You know, prove me right.
Well, hey, hopefully it's 5.
No, it could be 5, there's nothing more. There's nothing I would love more than to have a super busy week in a couple of weeks.
And the state championship games. Obviously, next week is the semifinals, and then are they all the following Friday, Saturday?
No, the Thursday, Friday, and
Thursday,
Saturday.
Friday, Saturday. Okay.
December 5, 6, and 7.
Okay.
And I'm not sure which games are on which days. I mean, you can probably find that on the team.
And obviously, we don't have any of the private school teams from this area that'll be.
Yeah, private school's been eliminated. 5A's been eliminated, but we've got we still got some teams standing in all the other classifications. So good luck tonight, everybody. Bundle up, get your hot chocolate, and let's root on the Memphis teams. And
well, the man who will have you covered is Mr. John Varlas. You can get him on X at John Varlas, and he'll keep you updated with all the scores and everything else going on from around the area with all of the action tonight. And then as they continue on to the semifinals and again the state championship games, hopefully there are teams there so that John can get a trip to Chattanooga, his favorite city in the world.
Well, not my favorite city in the world, but certainly my favorite city in Tennessee. It's just a great place, especially this time of year.
What is your favorite city in the world, by the way?
Favorite city I tell you what, out of the cities I've been to, San Diego is really beautiful.
I'll be there next week.
I was going to say, I know you're going to be there next week. Have you ever been?
I've never been.
It's incredible.
But with this weather today, I can't wait to get there.
Yeah, the weather's perfect, and I mean, and they've got everything. Whatever you like. I mean, if you like urban, I mean, if you like beach, I mean, they've got it all. It's just so beautiful and incredible out there. I mean, you know, I don't know. I've been blessed to go to a lot of nice places. I loved Montreal. I loved Quebec. I mean,
Canada.
You know,
Boo Canada.
Miami's awesome. I mean, but I just love going down to Orange Beach and sticking my toes in the sand.
There you go. Can't go wrong with that.
Yeah.
Or going to Chattanooga.
Or going to Chattanooga.
John, thank you so much, man.
Thank you, Will. I appreciate you.
That is John Varlas. Check him out, Daily Memphian, dailymemphian.com, and again on X at John Varlas. Coming up, it's hour number 2 of the program, Sports 56 Mornings here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Take your basketball skills to the next level at Shoot 360 Memphis. Shoot 360 is a revolutionary basketball training facility that combines cutting-edge technology with gamification and provides instant, objective feedback with hands-on, one-on-one expert coaching. And now, introducing Shoot 360 Cordova, a newly renovated 50,000 square foot facility with 2 NBA regulation-sized courts, 3 high school-sized courts, and 4 shooting bays with Shoot 360 technology. Memberships are now on a monthly basis. And yes, you can become a member at both locations. Whether you're an aspiring young talent, NBA player, or looking for a unique workout, all skill levels are welcome at Shoot 360 Memphis to learn proper shooting and passing techniques, improve fundamentals, and gain a competitive edge while having fun. Shoot 360 Memphis now in Cordova and Collierville. Call them today at 901-779-3176. That's 901-779-3176. The future of basketball training is here. Shoot 360 Memphis.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director at Lexus in Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
If you love sports and Mexican food, you can get the best of both at Los Cabos Mexican Bar and Grill on Summer near Graham. Watch all the big games on all the big TVs on all the walls at Los Cabos. And enjoy premium tequila shots anytime for just $5.50. Celebrate every day with lunch specials from 10 to 3 and happy hour from 3 to 8. Lunch is just $6.75 to $10.99 and margaritas start at $3.99. Experience real Mexican cuisine along with great sports at Los Cabos on Summer near Graham.
Indulge yourself or your loved ones this season with a trip to Sissy's Log Cabin. Here, you can shop our
Log Cabin.
Oh, I got him on the line. Jason, the main man marshal at Gossett Volkswagen on the pipe. What's going on over there?
Hey, Randy, what's going on here is the Sign Then Drive sales event. That means zero down payment, zero security deposit, zero first month lease payment, and zero due at signing.
Hang on, zero down payment, zero security deposit, zero first month lease payment, and zero due at signing?
That's right, Randy. And the 2024 Town Set, zero down at $337 a month, plus $5,000 off 2024 Peak Editions, and 0.9 for 60 months on 2024 Atlas and Cross Sports.
Wow, $5,000 off 2024 Peak Editions and 0.9% for 60 months on 2024 Atlas and Cross Sports.
And remember, at Gossett Volkswagen on the Pike, no reasonable offer will be refused.
That's Gossett Volkswagen, 1875 Covington Pike, or online at GossettVWMemphis.com.
Where we're charging for it and charging less every day.
Ole Miss Rebel Yell is back. The Rebel Yell Hotline Radio Show is back on WHBQ Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Every Monday night at 6, hear the latest news on your Ole Miss Rebels with Yancey Porter with 24/7 Sports, former Ole Miss defensive tackle Mike Fitzsimmons, Gordon Ford covering SEC Sports Call, and former Ole Miss baseball announcer Gary Darby. From kickoff to free throw to extra innings, your Ole Miss Sports on the Rebel Yell Hotline Show right here Monday night at 6 on Sports 56, 560 AM and 98.5 FM, your Mid-South Sports Station.
Traffic brought to you by 901 Eats to Go, 3135 Kirby Whitten Road in Bartlett. Pick up, DoorDash, Uber Eats, or online at 901eats.com. Eats with a Z. Good food fast.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning, MPD. Still on the scene of this serious wreck over here, trying to clean it up on Winchester and Winbrook, trying to avoid that area. Eastbound Bill Morris Parkway, right at Riverdale. I saw some flashing lights there on a stalled vehicle just a few minutes ago as that traffic continues to build on 385 Bill Morris Parkway coming out of Collierville, headed towards Memphis. Shop now and save during this holiday season at Weimer's Jewelry, located 7525 Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
WHBQ Memphis and W253DF Memphis with Brett Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus. Weekday afternoons from 3 to 6.
Now back to Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers.
Diamonds are forever.
Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, 8:06 the time, and now up to 37 degrees here on this Friday morning, November the 22nd, 2024. Welcome back into Sports 56 Mornings. I'm Eli Savoy, no Greg Gaston today. Elijah Seekers is here producing the program live at the Family Leisure Studios, where family and fun come together. That is Family Leisure. Check them out at 2120 Whitten Road. And again, this hour of the program is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers. This hour of the program, we do have wide open for you. I got a lot of stuff we're going to get into, but if you want to chime in on anything, including the Tigers game from last night, which we will get back into here in just a moment, you can chime in on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener line at 901-360-8255, 901-360-8255. You could call or text in on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener line. Coming up in our last hour, in the 9 o'clock hour, we'll have Kenny Mayne, the former longtime ESPN personality, at 9:05 to kick off the hour, and then Brandon Lang, as usual, coming up at about 9:25 this morning to handicap the action in both the college and NFL this weekend. Last night, again, the Tigers, once again, struggle in the first half and then dominate in the second half, as we have seen all year long, and they end up getting a 68-64 victory out in San Francisco at the Chase Center, knocking off the University of San Francisco. Dane Danger leading the way off the bench, coming off the bench for the first time this year, 18 points, 7 rebounds, 3 blocks, and 2 steals for Danger as he went 6 for 7 at the free throw line, which was huge as well. And the Tigers were able to overcome really the first time this year where P.J. Haggerty has struggled a little bit. 13 points for Haggerty, 7 rebounds, 3 steals, but did have 5 turnovers and was just 2 of 9 from the field. But he also shot free throws well, as he usually does. 7 of 8 at the free throw line, including some huge ones down the stretch to ensure the fact that the Tigers would be able to hold on and get the win in that one. Tigers now move on to Maui, where they will play on Monday against two-time defending champion UConn. That will be a game that will be at 1:30 Central Time Monday afternoon. Very early. They get the early wake-up call out in Hawaii because they get the 9:30 a.m. local time game to kick off the Maui Invitational on Monday. After they play UConn, whether they win or lose, they will move on to play on Tuesday against either Michigan State or Colorado, depending on how each game goes. The two winners, of course, will match up on Tuesday. The two losers will match up on Tuesday as well. But the Tigers now 4-0 on the season, and again they have an obvious MO this year, and that is struggle in the first half, dominate in the second half. First half last night they shot 6 of 25 from the field. Second half 13 of 27 from the field last night. So they went from in that game, shooting-wise, they went from 24% and doubled that in the second half up to 48%. For the game, just 36%. 7 of 19 from 3, 23 out of 31 at the free throw line. They held San Francisco to 32% shooting overall, and the Dons just 6 of 28 from the three-point line in that one as the Tigers get their 4th straight win to open the season again. I don't recommend against UConn struggling and going 6 of 25 from the field in the first half. Because against UConn, you might be down by 20 and never have a chance to come back in that one. But again, if they can figure out whatever they're doing in the second half and start doing that in the first half, well, then you got something. Because this is the second halves have been absolutely dominant. Really, really impressive what they have done in the second halves of these games. We did get a text from somebody who said, who was the tech called in the second half and why? That was Penny. Danger got the technical in the first half when he got called for the foul and then said something to the official. And then in the second half, Penny got a technical for saying something to the officials. So the Tigers had the 2 technicals, one on Danger first half, but the second half one, that was called on Coach Hardaway. Somebody Matt texts in, says, what is UConn's record so far this year, and who have they played? Well, they are 4-0 like the Tigers. They have played absolutely nobody, but they have beaten them all by a million. They played Sacred Heart and won 92-56. They played New Hampshire and won 92-53. They played Lemoyne, not Lemoyne-Owen, Lemoyne. They won 90-49. And then they played Texas A&M Commerce, and they won that game easily as well, 81-46. But those teams are all ranked below 320 in the KenPom rankings. So, again, they have not played anybody yet this year. Tigers certainly have played better competition to this point than UConn. But UConn, again, 2-time defending champions, a lot of talent, some back, some new stuff. But they are really, really good once again this year and are a legit contender to try to make it 3 in a row, which is a very difficult task. But they are good enough to win a 3rd straight national championship. Mike has dialed in on the Sissy's Log Cabin listener line. Mike, what's going on this Friday morning?
Okay. It seemed like to me, like in the first half, Haggerty kind of plays passive. I mean, he doesn't drive the ball, and in the second half, he seems like he drives the ball, and the whole offense picks up.
Yeah, I do think I think we've seen so far in the first halves this year, and he's even said he kind of uses the first half to kind of feel things out a little bit.
Yeah, he defers to other players.
Yeah, and get other guys involved and kind of see how they're going to guard him, and then seems to, yes, in the second half, get much more aggressive. The crazy thing about his game last night is he only made 2 field goals. They were both threes. For him to not make a 2-point shot in a game is crazy with the way he gets to the rim. Normally, it is able to finish.
Yeah, well, and how many layups? I was listening to Dave do the game, and Dave was talking about how many layups, they missed. The game took forever for as many fouls. It was so bad at halftime, I turned it off, and then when I turned it back on, we were tied.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, no doubt about it. Mike, thank you for the call. Yeah, it was, again, the first half was, it was just brutal. It was absolutely brutal to watch. I mean, again, when you're talking about the two teams combined to go 17 of 56 from the field, they were 6 of 23 from three-point range. They were 13 of 23 from the free throw line and had 17 total turnovers. I mean, it was, yeah. The Tigers in the second half cut their turnovers at half, too. They went from 10 in the first half to 5 in the second half. Again, they've just been a way better second half team. But Mike is correct. Like, P.J. Haggerty seems to be a lot more aggressive in the second half. And last night, he in that first half was one of the guys who had – no, he did not have 2 fouls. That's right. It was Hunter that had the 2 first-half fouls. As the Tigers, again, there was a lot of foul trouble just because there were so many darn fouls called in the first half and in the game. Again, we're talking 49 fouls and 58 free throw attempts in the game. And that's why it took 2 hours and 17 minutes to play. Melvin is dialed in. What's up, Melvin?
Hey, how you guys doing today?
Good. How are you, man?
Doing all right. Yeah, man, the thing you say about the fish shade, man, it's terrible how they college basketball is. Like, every game you got 55, and you got, like, the Tigers play, when the Grizzlies play, the Tigers game be lasting longer than the Grizzlies game, and, like, it just frustrating. It's hard to watch. It's hard for people to engage in it. It's hard to get a rhythm in those games. You know, you got your best players getting 2 fouls. Like, who want to tune in to watch that? Like,
yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It drives me crazy, and I don't know. Again, like, you can't just tell the officials, "Hey, quit calling foul." But it is like that game, that first half. Like, if you're like, as Mike said, like, if you watch the first half of that game last night, you're like, "Why in the world do I want to watch another half of this?"
Yeah. But it's something, look, I'm glad we got the win, but it's some trend that, sometimes, Penny stubbornness get to me. Like, I remember last year when he did it, when he brought Jordan Brown back, and he tried to play him and Malcolm Daniels, when stuff was kind of going awkward. He's forcing this Malcolm Daniels. I mean, he's forcing this Musa and Dane Danger lineup, and it's the worst thing I ever seen in my life. Dane Danger had 4 turnovers, and they all to a cut Musa Susay, but we watch Musa here, you watch Musa at Ole Miss. He can't catch the damn ball. Penny Danger had 4 turnovers throwing to Musa because he can't catch the damn ball. See, and you know what? The second half, he started Musa. He took Musa out, and he let Danger play by himself. And y'all see the outcome. Like, he's doing this every game. Like, and he said, because you listen to the interview, like, they're too big. It might work in practice because he's not practicing against anybody. Yeah. Like, you can't play those. The first half, he going down to Musa. He missed like 5 free throws, which Musa is a better player. Don't get me wrong, but he's a rim runner. He's a shot blocker. Don't play those guys together. We got a 6-point lead, and I'm like, we finna ice it. And he another turnover, he paid it to Musa. They kept him in the game. It's so frustrating. But, I mean, a win's a win, but y'all pay attention to that. He's forcing that line. Nobody played 2 terrible centers. You play a center, and you play a stretch 4. Or, you go with a small ball lineup. So that's kind of dumbed the game down, too.
All right, Melvin, thank you so much. I wanted to bring that up. I'm surprised how much he is playing those guys together. I did not think we would really see those 2 guys on the floor together hardly at all this year. But yeah, there was a lot, and I know exactly what Melvin's talking about because there was a couple different passes I remember for sure where they were good passes but again, if you try and throw it low to Cisse, he generally can't catch it. He's got to catch it up high. You try a little low bounce pass to him, he struggles, especially if he's on the move. But the crazy, like, We've seen Penny in the past, and Mel talked about the stubbornness, and we've talked about how many guys he had play and all that stuff. Last night, even with the foul issues and everything else that you dealt with in that game, Jourdain ends up fouling out of the game. Rogers ended up with 4. In the first half, you had 4 different guys with 2 fouls. There were only 7 guys that played more than. You basically played 8 guys. They basically played Danger, Okogie, and Carter off the bench. Yates got 3 minutes, and then Jared Harris got a little over a minute. So, it is, again, there's not many other options to play, but it is basically an 8-man rotation at most right now, which, again, I think is good. It will be interesting in Maui, 3 games in 3 days, but also when they will have been on the road for a week. This is a long road trip, and I don't care if you're taking charter flights and how nice hotels are. At least from my perspective, you put me on the road for a week in a hotel, I just get groggy. I don't know. It wears you out being on the road, and the time change, everything else. Again, they're going to be playing a game Monday morning, local time in Hawaii, 9:30 in the morning. So you go out there to say, well, we're going to get our bodies adjusted to the time change. Well, yeah, but then you got to play a game at 9:30 in the morning. You almost don't want your body adjusted to the time change. You want your body to still think it's 1:30 in the afternoon. Reggie texts in. He says, if Penny knows he needs another body to support in case of foul trouble, what's he waiting on to fill the position? Santa Claus? There are enough bodies in the portal now. What does he want? A 5-star? Yeah, I don't know. I know Jason Munz for the Commercial Appeal, who obviously does a great job. He did an article a couple days ago, I believe it was. I can't remember when it was. And he went through some guys who were out there who haven't played in a game this year. Because remember, if you're going to add somebody this year to play this year, they can't have played a single minute for somebody else this season. But he went through a list, a few guys. Illinois got one. I can't remember where all they got there, but he went through some guys who you would say those might be guys who could help here and who haven't played in a game this year. But I don't think any of them are actually in the portal. So, one, the guy has to have not played in a game this year, and 2, he has to get into the portal. Just because they haven't played in a game doesn't. Maybe they don't want to. They're not planning on leaving the school. There could be whatever circumstance. But as of right now, the ones I'm pretty sure from the article he had, none of the guys that he outlined have actually entered the portal. So I don't know what is in the portal right now that you could add that for somebody who could play this year, it would be eligible to play this year, that would be good enough to help you. I really don't. Trying to keep track of the portal, it's just not worth my time, quite frankly. But again, I know Jason Munz had that article. But again, I'm pretty sure that those guys that he went through, none of them had actually entered the portal yet. So none of them, you can't do anything with them. Now, again, at the semester break, do they enter the portal? Do they, what do they decide to do? Or are they still trying to work things out at their current school and still play there? We'll have to wait and see as far as that is concerned. But I don't know. Because again, it's not worth just adding a body to add a body. It needs to be somebody who can help you, possibly. I mean, if they just want to throw a guy into the game right now, they got guys they could throw into a game. They're going to look for somebody who they say, yeah, that guy could come in here and actually play for us and help us out. Also last night, college basketball, Ole Miss, they had a dominant second half. against Oral Roberts as they win 100-68. Points off turnovers in the game last night. Ole Miss with a 37-4 advantage in points off turnovers. They forced 21 turnovers. They only turned over 8 times. And they had a 17-4 advantage in second chance points, 18-3 in fast break points, and 44-16 points in the paint. That's how you win a game by 32. Against a bad Oral Roberts team. They did what they were supposed to do. Matthew Morrell, 19 points. Sean Padula, 19 points, leading the way for Ole Miss in that one, of course, Ole Miss. And Memphis will match up later on, coming up, what's that, right after the Christmas holiday, if I remember correctly. Yeah, December 28th will be the matchup between Ole Miss and Memphis. Ole Miss currently sits at 47th in the KenPom rankings, while Memphis currently sits at 33rd after their win last night. Ole Miss will be off till Thanksgiving Day now, and they'll be out in San Diego. That's where I will be. They will play BYU, which is a really good team. That's going to be a big-time test for Ole Miss out there, as they'll play BYU on Thanksgiving Day in the first game of that tournament in San Diego. And then the other side of the bracket is Purdue, who obviously is very good once again, and NC State. So they'll play one of those two on the second day of that tournament on Black Friday, 1 week from today. Also last night, Tennessee, they dominated Virginia, picking up a 64-42 win, as Tennessee, obviously really, really good. They go to 5-0 on the year. Virginia, this is not one of the really good Virginia teams, and again, they can have trouble scoring at times. And last night, Tennessee holds them to 42 points, 64-42 the final. The game of the night last night, Baylor and St. John's. Baylor wins that one in double overtime, 99-98. They had a three-pointer at the buzzer, I guess it was at the buzzer of regulation, to try and win it. And they missed that one. But then they did hit, after St. John's was up 2 and had 2 free throws to try and ice the game, basically, with, I think there were 4 seconds left. They could have gone up by 4, but they missed both free throws. And Baylor comes down, and the Duke transfer, Jeremy Roach, comes down, pulls up, hits the 3 for the game winner, as Baylor wins at 99-98 in double overtime. And Baylor and Tennessee will be the matchup today. That is being played. Do you know where Tennessee, where are they playing? Is that the Bahamas?
Yeah, it's the Bahama Mar Classic is what it's called.
Yeah. So it's Baylor and Tennessee today in that tournament down there in the Bahamas, which is a really, really good matchup. Man, Baylor's schedule, Baylor's already played Gonzaga, Arkansas, St. John's, and will play Tennessee today. And they play Connecticut in early December. You talk about a non-conference schedule. That is ridiculous. That's the night in college basketball. Again, if you want to chime in on that Tiger game, you certainly can do so, or Ole Miss or Tennessee or anything from the world of college basketball. When we come back, the NFL week kicked off last night with a snow game between the Browns and the Steelers. And for whatever reason, the Steelers are terrible on Thursday nights. We'll get to that when we come back and more. You're listening to Sports 56 Mornings at Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Add a little fun to your lunch break. Join Johnny Radio for Sports 56 Happy Hour from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
You or someone you know or care about has dealt with a difficult divorce. When facing divorce, you need the attorneys at Rice Law. Nick and Larry Rice lead the firm with 3 generations and 7 decades of experience. Located in Memphis, serving the entire state of Tennessee and North Mississippi. Rice Law is who you need to call. Simple or difficult divorce, they know how to handle it. Call Rice Law at 901-526-6701, or for more information, visit them at aboutdivorce.com. That's aboutdivorce.com.
If If you love sports and Mexican food, you can get the best of both at Los Cabos Mexican Bar and Grill on Summer near Graham. Watch all the big games on all the big TVs on all the walls at Los Cabos. And enjoy premium tequila shots anytime for just $5.50. Celebrate every day with lunch specials from 10 to 3 and happy hour from 3 to 8. Lunch is just $6.75 to $10.99 and margaritas start at $3.99. Experience real Mexican cuisine along with great sports at Los Cabos on Summer near Graham.
Jenkins Floors and More invite you to their retail warehouse where they pass wholesale savings on to you. Jenkins Floors in Little Rock, Cleveland, Mississippi, and now open in Horn Lake at 2356 West Goodman Road. Specializing in flooring and carpeting, tile, plantation shutters, and blinds, Jenkins makes your life easy with a 2-week turnaround. Contractors, builders, or family projects, call 662-469-9350 for a free estimate. Owners Timmy and Rebecca Jenkins say hello to Sports 56 fans and look forward to your business.
Simple, smooth, and every sip is easier to last. Tito's handmade vodka tastes just as good with tap water as it does your favorite mixers. Back in the day, Tito distilled, hand-bottled, taste-tested, sent out to a few friends, then taste-tested again to give you the finest juice around. No frills, no flavors, no fancy labels, just the good stuff, just Tito's. For recipes, videos, and more, visit Tito'sVodka.com. Distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas, 40% alcohol by volume, namely 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly.
When you think about insurance and you want great value without sacrificing great service, I want you to think one place, the Eflin Insurance and the entire Eflin Insurance team. Matt and his group of professionals will access 10 leading companies to find the right home and auto program that fits your budget and your absolute needs. The Eflin Insurance team, the number 386-GER, 386-4777.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning. Wrapping up a couple of wrecks we had earlier. That one was pretty serious earlier. Winchester at Winbrook. There's still some volume over here on Summer Avenue coming inbound. Still trying to build at times. Down sections of I-40 westbound from Germantown Parkway down to Sycamore View Road. Shop and save this holiday season at Weimer's Jewelry. Shop local and you'll save a lot of money. Go by and see them this weekend at Weimer's Jewelry, 7525 Highway 64. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Back to Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers.
Don't you just love it?
Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back, 8:31 here in the Family Leisure Studios with Eli and Elijah. Last night in the NFL, in Cleveland, in the snow. Man, that was... That was crazy. Did you watch any of that game?
I watched the entire thing. I couldn't take my eyes away.
Dude, it was like, there were points there where like you couldn't see. You had no idea where the ball was. Like it was coming down. That just doesn't look fun at all to me. It just looks miserable to be trying to play football in that. But Cleveland gets their third win of the year. They go to 3-8. And send the Steelers to 8-3 with a 24-19 win over the Steelers in the snow. Jameis Winston, 18-27, 219 yards, 1 interception. Nick Chubb had a couple of touchdown runs, including the game winner for Cleveland. Russell Wilson, 21 of 28, 270, and a touchdown. That touchdown went to Calvin Austin. Calvin Austin III, the Memphian. 3 catches, 78 yards, and a touchdown in the snow. For a guy from Memphis, I can't imagine that's a whole lot of fun playing in snow like that. But, again, had a good game. And he's been getting a lot of targets and playing well. Led the Steelers in receiving yards last night. And, again, had the 1 receiving touchdown. But Cleveland gets the win. And I don't know what it is about Thursday Night Football, but Pittsburgh, for whatever reason, they showed it yesterday that they are just really bad on Thursday nights, especially on the road and in the division. I want to say that with that loss last night, I think that makes Mike Tomlin, if I'm not mistaken, 0-8 in road division games on Thursday nights. Something like that. I don't know what it is, but the Steelers just on Thursday night struggle, especially within the division. And so now they fall to 8-3. It's still been an amazing year to this point. I mean, I don't think anybody thought that the Steelers were going to be 8-3 at this point, but that is a disappointing loss to a pretty bad Cleveland team. Steelers now 8-3. Baltimore sitting at 7-4, right behind them in that AFC North division, and then of course Cincinnati and Cleveland well back of both of those. Now after the game, George Pickens, who Pittsburgh threw a Hail Mary at the end of the game, and it was incomplete, obviously, and then Pickens kind of got into a little bit of a altercation kind of behind the end zone with one of the defensive backs for the Browns, although he said nothing happened. But then Pickens said that the conditions saved the Browns. So apparently the Browns were playing, or the Pittsburgh was playing in the snow, but the Browns weren't. I don't know. But said the conditions, and he also threw in the referees. The conditions and the referees saved the Browns because the Browns aren't any good. But nonetheless, the Browns do get the win 24-19 over the Steelers to kick off the week in NFL football. On Sunday, we will have 3 games for you. Kicking off the Vikings and Bears at noon. That'll be followed by Cardinals, Seahawks, and a huge game in the NFC West. And then a good Sunday night game this week, Eagles and the Rams out in L.A. there. Got some other really interesting matchups this week. You got the Harbaugh Bowl with the Ravens and the Chargers, 2 very good teams. The Ravens 7-4, Chargers at 7-3. You've got the Lions trying to continue to be dominant as they travel to Indianapolis to take on the Colts. Colts could really use a win, but that'll be tough to get against a very good Lions team this week. That just dominant offense of the Lions just has been unbelievable. We'll see if that continues to be the case this week at Indianapolis. Of course, coming up in our final hour today, Brandon Lang will join us to handicap some of those games coming up this weekend. Other somewhat NFL news. Did you see Jason Kelce getting his own late night show now?
I did not see that.
I got to be honest, I'm starting to get tired of Jason Kelce's a little on my TV a little too much now. The commercials are crazy. Like, he is all over the place in commercials. Obviously does the Monday night stuff. He will do a late night, basically talk show. It'll be like one of your late night talk shows. It'll be every Friday night / Saturday morning, I guess. It'll air midnight Central Time on Saturday mornings from January 4th through February 1st. So it's just 5 episodes. This is obviously during the playoffs leading up kind of to the Super Bowl, but they'll do that. But yeah, he's going to be the host of a late night talk show. The question, I guess, will be, could he get Taylor Swift on there?
Guess it wouldn't be hard. He's got a little pool.
I don't know. I think he's going to have, I assume it's going to be mostly, I don't know if they're going to do sports people, non-football people, if it's just going to be strictly football related, exactly what it is. But he will have a late night talk show coming to ESPN in January once a week on that. Yesterday in Major League Baseball, the 2 MVP awards were officially announced, although we knew who was going to win those awards, and both of them were unanimous selections. As Shohei Ohtani of the Dodgers wins another MVP award, this time winning it in the National League, and Aaron Judge wins in the American League, again, both unanimous selections, which is no surprise. Actually, the American League, it was in. Now, Judge was a unanimous first place, and Bobby Witt Jr. was a unanimous second place. Judge got all 30 first place votes, Witt got all 30 second place votes, and then third place votes, and so on and so forth, were divided up. Congratulations to Brent Rooker, the local product who finished 10th in the MVP voting in the American League after the great season he had for the Oakland A's, putting together a heck of a career. And he has been absolutely fantastic the last couple of years. And to finish 10th in the MVP voting, playing for that team, that is quite an accomplishment. So congratulations to Brent Rooker, and again, finishing 10th in the voting for American League MVP. Also out of the world of Major League Baseball, weird things going on down in Tampa. The St. Petersburg City Council yesterday at first approved $23 million in, I guess, city spending to repair the roof at Tropicana Field. But then later changed their mind on that, rescinded that. There's also been a vote to delay the consideration of bonds for the Rays' new stadium that was supposed to be opening in 2028. So right now there's all kinds of question marks. One, are they going to get Tropicana Field fixed to be able to play in it? Because we know next year they're not playing in it. But now if you don't have this funding, or if they end up getting this funding but it's later on, will that even be done for the 2026 season? And then there's a question now whether they're going to get a new stadium at all. Because I think the county also has delayed their situation as far as the funding for the new stadium goes. So now they're saying that even if they get a new stadium, there's a good chance it wouldn't be ready for 2028. That would have to be pushed back to 2029. So could we end up with the Rays, who are going to play in Tampa next year at the Yankees spring training site, but obviously that's not a long-term home for them. Could the Rays end up moving? And of course, if there is a Major League Baseball team that moves, I think most popular opinion of where a team might move to now, after, of course, Vegas gets Oakland, would be just down I-40 from us. That would be Nashville. There is a group there that has been together for a few years now trying to get Major League Baseball. So if the Rays can't get Tropicana Field fixed and they can't get a new stadium approved, I don't know how they could possibly stay down there. And could they be looking for a new home? And could that new home be Nashville? That'll be interesting to see. Plenty of NBA news, including an injury update for the Grizzlies on one of their guys who is hurt, plus a new All-Star game format. We'll take a look at the NBA news from yesterday as we come back here to wrap up hour number 2, Sports 56 Mornings. Do want to tell you, though, about Classic Arms. UTJ, the entire gang at Classic Arms. When it comes to firearms, you are not going to find a bigger selection. Not here in town, anyway. How about over 700 firearms in stock? 700. Hunting season is here. A lot of folks out there hunting. Need a new hunting rifle or whatever. You want maybe a handgun for self-protection. Whatever it is you're looking for, guarantee you're going to find it at Classic Arms. And not only do they have new guns, but they have used guns, because not only do they sell guns, but they will also buy, and they will also trade. And they've got all the top brand names: Glock, Sig, Colt, Ruger, Smith & Wesson, Browning, Beretta, Benelli, Remington, Winchester. You know all the names. They've got them all. Again, we got over 700 firearms. Good chance you're going to have pretty much everything. They're the only gun importer in the Mid-South. They have the guaranteed lowest price in town. They do free gun inspections, free gun appraisals. You could shop by going to see them in person at 1740 Germantown Parkway, right behind Corky's Barbecue in Cordova. Or you can shop online 24/7. ClassicArmsOfMemphis.com. That's ClassicArmsOfMemphis.com. For Classic Arms, with over 700 firearms in stock, plus everything else you need, from gun cases to gun safes and ammunition, all the things, every supply you need, they've got you taken care of at Classic Arms. Back with more right after this, Sports 56 Mornings, Sports 56, 98.5 FM.
so proud and feel so honored when former real estate agents contact me when they want to sell their homes or someone has called them asking whom they should use. They know that I've been in the business for quite a while, have a great deal of experience, and know that I'm good at marketing and I'm part of a nationwide relocation network. Over the years, I've developed a highly successful strategic marketing program that can make the difference in what you make and when. Thinking of selling? Talk to 2 to 3 real estate brokers, but make sure I'm one of them. Remember what people often say that when you want the job done, well, Shell done. So if you or somebody you know is thinking of selling, remember what other former real estate agents do. They call me at 483-0546 or email me at memphisrelocate.com. Shell Dunn Rosengarten at memphisrelocate.com or 483-0546.
Locally owned and operated for over 40 years, Automatic Gates Construction tailors custom gate solutions for all your residential, commercial, and industrial needs, including repairs, maintenance, and installation. Automatic Gates Construction specializes in designing and installing automatic gates and fencing that seamlessly blends security, functionality, and aesthetic appeal. Elevate the safety and efficiency of your property with a premium gate solution. Automatic Gates Construction at myautomaticgates.com.
Texting enrolls you in a recurring automated marketing text messages. Consent are required to purchase. Message and data rates may apply.
The team's looking good this season. I think so. Man, I miss playing football. Being young with unlimited energy to burn. Ever since I turned 40, I just can't find that fire I used to have.
Think you could be lower testosterone?
What do you mean?
All guys lose their edge when they turn 40. Your body has less testosterone. That's why I take Nugenix Total T.
I've heard about Nugenix. That really works?
Since I started taking Nugenix, I'm lifting like when we played for Coach Carter. I feel more energized at work. It's even spiced up things between me and the missus.
Are they still giving out complimentary bottles for people to try?
Yep, send a text. It's that easy.
Text GRIT to 42424 right now for your complimentary bottle of Nugenix Total T. It's the #1 selling testosterone boosting brand at GNC and Walmart. Do it now and they'll also send you a bottle of Nugenix Thermo X, their newest, most powerful fat burner ever, absolutely free. Text GRIT to 42424. That's GRIT to 42424. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Hello, sports fans out there. Walker Taylor here with the Germantown and Collierville Commissary. We just celebrated our 43rd year in business, and I would like to thank our fantastic customers and especially our loyal staff. Time has flown by. We now have a second location, Poplar and Houston Levy in Collierville. Catering is a specialty of ours. 50 to 5,000, no job too small, no job too big. Full service or self-service. We also have a party room in Collierville that is great for rehearsal dinners, business meetings, you name it, we'd love to have you. Also, our barbecue party packs start at $8.75 a person. Barbecue, beans, slaw, bun sauce, including serving utensils. Especially great for tailgating with football season coming up. The commissary restaurants also believe in giving back to the community. Possibly you have been approached by somebody selling a barbecue 6-pack coupon for fundraising. Cheerleading groups, church groups, anything to help a worthy cause. Holidays are near. Smoked hams and smoked turkeys will be on the pit before you know it. Come see us at Germantown and Collierville Commissary. Also check us out at commissarybarbecue.com.
Now back to Sports 56 Mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by James Gaddis Jewelers.
To reveal the full spectrum of its dazzling color.
Here once again, Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
So yesterday, the Grizzlies did update the injury on Vince Williams Jr. It is a grade 3 right ankle sprain, and he will be reevaluated in approximately 4 weeks. So, terrible, terrible news, obviously, for Vince, who just came back and now is out for at least a month, it would appear. And we'll have to wait and see how much longer it could be possibly than that. But, again, won't be reevaluated until approximately 4 weeks from now. So that bad news for, obviously, the team, also bad news for him, just getting healthy and then get back and then immediately suffer another injury. We still don't know any more on Zach Edey, when he will be back from the ankle injury. They never gave any real update on him, an official update, I guess, on him, which I assume is good news, which I would assume that means that he won't be out too much longer. The Grizzlies will be in Chicago tomorrow night to take on the Bulls. So we'll get an injury report later today for tomorrow's game. We'll see, first of all, on Edey. Is there any chance he could be back? Marcus Smart, who missed the last 3 games with an illness, you would think that he would be back either tomorrow, if not, then certainly on Monday when they're back at home. But the big question is Ja Morant. Ja has said on social media that he'll be back soon, I guess. I think what he said, sooner than expected or something like that. He's off the crutches. He looks better. It looks like maybe next week he could be back. So could maybe tomorrow night be the night that Ja goes to doubtful, and then Monday night he goes to questionable and he plays against Portland? And again, that's generally the way the Grizzlies do things with guys who've been out for a while in their injury designations. They go from out to doubtful for one game, and then they go to questionable the next game, and they play. That's pretty much the pattern that you could expect. So, if maybe Ja can be doubtful tomorrow night, miss the game at Chicago, and then if that's the case, you would expect that Monday night he would be questionable, and maybe Monday becomes the doubtful game, and at some point. But I think we will see Ja sometime here in the near future. Hopefully, we'll see Edey in the near future, and Marcus Smart, we would expect we'll see in the near future. And then obviously Gigi we know is still out for quite a while. Probably won't see him till 2025 possibly. And then now Vince Williams Jr. we know is out. Won't be reevaluated till, I guess, just before the new year. So good chance we don't see Vince probably until 2025. But if Ja can come back and Edey can come back and Marcus Smart can come back, and get Smart, and John Conchar also missed the game the other night against Philadelphia, also with an illness. But get those guys back from illness, get Edey and Ja back, then you're as close to fully healthy as the Grizzlies have been in, I don't even know how long. Then it would just be Vince and Gigi that are out, who were the 2 guys who you knew were going to be out to start the season to begin with. Then you added a bunch of other guys to them. Then Vince came back, but now Vince is out again. So we shall see. But again, I would expect we see Ja next week, and I expect we see Edey next week at some point. I would be surprised if we don't have both those guys back during that homestand next week. Again, after Chicago tomorrow night, they are home next week. They play Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday next week. Portland, Detroit, New Orleans, Indiana. And don't forget the Black Friday game. That is an afternoon game at 4 o'clock. And the Sunday game will be a 2:30 game. So a little different start times for those games next week as the Grizzlies will be home again Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. Also out of the NBA, report from Shams that the 2025 NBA All-Star Game will have a new format once again. It will be a 4-team tournament-style format. There will be 3 All-Star teams of 8 players each. So that's your 20. You normally, the 2 rosters have 12 guys each. You have 24 All-Stars. Well, now they're going to divide up. There will be 3 teams, 8 players each. That's your 24 All-Stars. And then the winning team in the Rising Stars game will be the 4th team in this tournament. There will be 2 semifinal games that will be played to 40 points, and then a championship game that will be played to 25 points. This format has been used for the Rising Stars Challenge the last 3 years. They've had 3, or they've done it with between the rookies, second-year guys, and then they've used guys off the G League Ignite and other G League players to do 4 teams and they did this exact format. That's how they've done the Rising Stars. Now they will do it for the actual All-Star game. Don't know how the teams will be selected yet. After you got your All-Stars, how they will be divided up, if it'll be captains that will be making the picks or what. The other question I have about this is coaches. Because normally you had the two coaches. You had whoever the best record was in the West and whoever the best record was in the East at the time, they were your two All-Star coaches. Well, now obviously you need 4 All-Star coaches. So do they do away with the actual coaches altogether? Because like in the Rising Stars thing, which again, they weren't going to have extra NBA coaches, but like those would be coached by like legends who would come. Like I think Pau Gasol was one of the coaches last year. I can't remember who all the coaches were. So do they go that route and end up having like legends coach these 4 teams? Do they still name any All-Star coaches? Do they go to 4 All-Star coaches? I don't know what they will do as far as that is concerned. But this will be the new format. I don't think it will. I don't think this is suddenly going to make people care about the All-Star game. Because just because now you do it this way doesn't mean they're going to play defense. It's going to be the same type of game, I think, only it's just going to be more of them. now you have 3 shorter games of teams not playing defense rather than 1 long game of nobody playing defense.
Yeah, I don't think it's a format issue. I think the last good All-Star game we saw where the players actually tried was in 2020, right before the pandemic in Chicago, where Kyle Lowry was taking charges. It's not a format thing, in my opinion. I think it's just a matter of the players being into it. Yeah, I just don't. And I don't, there is no way you're going to just convince them to go out there and really go hard. I don't know what you could possibly do to get guys to go say, we're going to play really hard on the defensive end. No, they're just not going to take any chances of getting hurt. They don't care. There's no way to just make them care. And I don't think this format is going to make them play defense or make anybody really care. Last night in the NBA, Franz Wagner, game-winning 3 against the Lakers. It was just like the end of the Baylor-St. John's College game. Lakers up by 2. Anthony Davis at the free throw line. Missed both. And then Franz Wagner comes down and hits a 3 to hand the Lakers their first home loss of the season. Wagner finished with 37 in that game. Mentioned the Vince Williams injury update. A couple of other injuries. Of course, we saw Paul George get hurt here the other night. Injured that left knee again. It is a bone bruise again. But they say right now he's going to miss the next 2 games. He will be reevaluated on Monday. So the way it looks, they said there's no structural damage. They don't expect him to miss much time. And then Luka Doncic, out at least a week. He has a right wrist sprain, so he will miss at least a week for the Dallas Mavericks, which obviously is a massive loss for the Mavericks to be without Luka. But again, doesn't look like it's going to be a super long stretch. Right now they're saying just a week, which is good news for them, and certainly they'll need him back. Dallas, obviously went to the NBA Finals last year, but as I've always said, I don't know how much that meant how good they were, or did they just get hot and get some lucky matchups and things worked out right for them in the postseason. They're off to an 8-7 start so far this year, although they have won 3 in a row, but now going to play without Luka for the next week. Coming up in hour number 3 of our program, we'll kick off the hour talking with Kenny Mayne, the former ESPN personality, who has a new documentary out called Kenny Mayne's Wiffle Ball. We'll let him explain what this is about. And he's got some other stuff that he's working on. We'll get an update on what he's been doing since he left ESPN just a few years ago. Then Brandon Lang will be here to handicap the weekend action in both college and NFL football as well. That comes your way in hour number 3. Sports 56 mornings on this Friday morning. Chilly Friday morning here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
licensing costs, registration fees, taxes, and dealer doc fee of $899.50, which are to be paid by the consumer. Silverado RG 355,553, MSRP 57,330, dealer discount 4,002. Sierra RZ 325,360, MSRP 54,330, dealer discount 4,000, expires 12/2/24.
They're taking care of beerness in Memphis, right on the river with Grind City Brewing and all of their great products. Look, this was a dream come true for a father and son duo, and if you have not been to that brewery right on the river, just to the north of downtown, you're really missing something special. And now you can't miss their product. Wherever you go, you see a brand new label. It's clean, it's beautiful, it's distinctive. You'll know Grind City Brewing, and of course you know their products like Poppy's Pills, that great Pilsner, or Tiger Tail, that very creative craft malt liquor. There's the new Thaddeus Amber Lager. That is absolutely a great light beer. There's the India Pale called Godhopper. It's outstanding. And then there's the Belga, the Belgian-style wheat ale. They keep bringing hits at Grind City Brewing.
Nestled in the heart of East Memphis, located corner of Park and Cherry, is a beautiful residential neighborhood. I'm here at Town Village Audubon Park interviewing a new resident, Carolyn. Share with us why you chose Town Village.
Well, if your parents or special friends need to make that big move, let me share with you my experience. It was tough for me to leave home, but then I discovered Town Village. I would like to highly recommend Town Village to you and your loved ones. After looking at all the amenities and meeting all the people and staff, I was hooked. From restaurant, bistro, 3 meals per day, housekeeping, transportation, security, health care, physical therapy, exercise room, and even a heated pool and spa. Come see us and make your new home at Town Village.
Visit us and call Daniel at Town Village Audubon Park at 901-374-7342. There's no place like home, Town Village.
You know the great thing about having an event catered by Central Barbecue?
What was that?
They turn any event into a cookout.
You stole that directly from their website.
Well, I didn't expect you to have looked at their website.
I've got events coming up. It's the holiday season, and there's no better way to make things easier than to have Central Barbecue cater it.
They have everything. Box lunches, meat platters, nacho bar kits.
And half and full sheet pans of their traditional barbecue sides. I'm looking at the website right now. You're quoting it verbatim.
Not exactly verbatim.
Word for word. This is a new level of lazy even by your standards.
That doesn't make it any less true. You can't beat Central Barbecue Catering.
It's just plagiarism.
All 650 acquisition fee, K4LXS, SEO 29100, MSRP 24230, Telluride RG 529 196, MSRP 41730, K5 S53 23133, MSRP 28330. Must finance through Kia. Excludes tax, title, and license with approved credit. Dealer stock only. See dealer for complete details. Valid through 12/2/24.
Hey, Jeff Allen, it's time to get ready for a season of new traditions at Gossett Kia South Mount Moriah.
Randy, my new tradition is saving my customers big bucks. I've got a 2025 Kia K4 LXS at $199 a month. That's less than $7 a day for a new ride. A 2024 K5 now $269 a month. Both $34.99 due at signing and a 24-month lease. And a 2025 Telluride, that spacious 8-seater SUV with high towing capacity and all-terrain tires, $348 per month. $39.99 due at signing.
Plus all new EV9, 0% for 72 months. And every Kia comes with America's best 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty.
So whether you live in Horn Lake, South Haven, Olive Branch, or Memphis, you'll be happy at Gossett Kia on Mount Moriah.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good morning. Still trying to clean up a couple of wrecks we had out here earlier. Traffic volume has actually been a little bit lighter than normal, but there's still some volume over here on I-40 coming westbound from Germantown Parkway to Sycamore View Road. It still looks pretty decent right now. Working your way up from the south on 55 northbound up through South Haven all the way up to Brooks and Elvis Presley. Hey, listen, if you need dependable towing for your car or truck, no matter what it is, make sure you call Marion Towing, your 24-hour towing service. Check out mariontowing.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis with Dave Woloshin, weekday mornings from 10 to 11. Now back to Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour brought to you by Jenkins Floors and More. Here once again are Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back here, 9:03 the time, Family Leisure Studios. Hour number 3 of Sports 56 Mornings. Eli and Elijah here on a cold Friday morning. But hey, it is Friday. That's good news. 40 degrees we're up to. We've hit the 40-degree mark, so that's also good news. But as it continues to warm up, expecting temperatures to get into the low 50s today. Sunday, they'll be up in the upper 60s. It gets a lot warmer coming up over the weekend, so that is good. We're here in the Family Leisure Studios. Family Leisure, where family and fun come together. 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40. This hour of the program is brought to you by Jenkins Floors and More. Talked a lot about the Tigers win last night. Tigers were able to get the win out in San Francisco over the Dons, University of San Francisco, with another great second-half performance. They were able to pick up the win out there. So good news for them as they now move on to Maui, where they will play on Monday afternoon here Central Time, a 1:30 game on Monday against the two-time defending champions, the UConn Huskies. That'll be first of 3 games out in Maui coming up for the Tigers. Of course, the Grizzlies will be in action tomorrow night. They're up in Chicago. And again, we got the update on Vince Williams, and we're waiting to see what happens with Ja Morant and Zach Edey as far as their injuries are concerned and when we might see them back in the lineup. But right now, it is a pleasure to welcome to the program one of my favorites when he was on ESPN. He was on there for many, many years, up until a few years ago. And now he's doing some other things, working on some other projects, including a new documentary that I'm very interested to hear about because I'm a big fan of wiffle ball. I've played a lot of wiffle ball. I think all of us have played a lot of wiffle ball in our life, probably as kids. And heck, I've even played as an adult. It's a lot of fun. But Kenny Mayne joins us on the program. You can follow him on X at Kenny_Mayne. And he joins us now on Sports 56 Mornings. Kenny, good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction. And it's funny you mentioned my long run at ESPN. I'm actually, for the first time in, what's it been, 3.5 years since I left, I think, something like that. I'm doing part of one of their shows today. Good friend of mine, I've stayed friends with a bunch of them, and he produces one of the sports centers. We started talking about promotion for my little movie, and he worked it out to get me on. So I'm going to be like, it's like when Ken Burns comes on and talks about his documentary. We're going to pretend it's like that.
That's very, very, that's cool. So Kenny Mayne's Wiffle Ball, it has premiered on Fubo Sports. I know there's another coming up this Sunday as well. And then for Fubo subscribers, they can see it on demand anytime they want. But first of all, tell everybody why and what the heck this is Kenny Mayne's Wiffle Ball.
Well, after I left ESPN, I did a bunch of work with Caesars for a while, commercials and promotions and whatnot with the Mannings and Trey Wingo. Had fun doing that. And then about a year ago when that stopped, I just started kind of dreaming up, like, what do I want to do and not really so much worry about what happens to it. Like, obviously you want things to succeed. But let's just go make something that's fun and funny and entertains us. And somehow it became this story about a day in 1989 where I was just starting out in TV in Seattle, and Ken Griffey was a rookie. This is August of 89. And we ended up doing like this little interview at the Seattle Center, and they happened to have a speed pitch at the Science Center right next door to where we were. And just for fun, we shot that. We shot us throwing wiffle balls as hard as we can. And they had a gun that was a little bit inaccurate, I think. So essentially, it's really like my love letter to wiffle ball. You mentioned you played it a bunch, and other people played stickball. Other people played, with a tennis racket and a tennis ball, but all kind of the same thing, right? Like a miniature version of playing real baseball. And we played it forever. We played it from age 5 to I still play now and then, but we played relentlessly through the years. And so we got the old pictures of my friends, and we got where I grew up, and then we got the footage of me and Griffey throwing wiffle balls, and we tried to accurately tell the tale of what really happened that day, like who had the better number and what happened in the course. And I mentioned Ken Burns; he actually is in the movie. We got an interview with him, and he was perfect for his part.
That is great to have Ken Burns on there. Is Griffey in it?
He's only in it in the olden day footage.
Okay.
Didn't work out to physically get him back in, but honestly, nothing against him. He's like playing, that's like my era's Willie Mays, right?
Yeah.
Like one of the greatest ever. but it also could have been Edgar Martinez, or it could have been Omar Vizquel. It was going to be whoever I shot this bit with. It happened to be him. And so it's kind of going back and just looking at that day, because I've held that I beat him by 1 mile per hour. The tape, we're not positive if the tape proves that. That's why we take it to a science professor. We take it to the head of wiffle ball in Connecticut, the president. And we also have some fun music in the show. Like, it has a lot of little things, I guess is the best way to put it.
So there's an actual president of wiffle ball?
Of course. He's the president of that company. They're in Connecticut, maybe an hour from where I am still living. And the company was founded by his grandfather, who just kind of developed this thing on his own. I'm not positive this is public or not, but I think he kind of like pretended he had a job for his wife and then continued to work on this ridiculous idea of perfecting this plastic ball and plastic bat and seeing if they could market it. And, turns out he made a good play, because it's a family run. I think they might have some other people involved. I'm not positive, but mostly it's the family you see around there. They have a little factory that you wouldn't even know what it is just driving by it, but they make and sell millions and millions of wiffle balls every year worldwide. So yeah, they did okay, and it's been going on for 70 years, 60 years, a long time.
That's crazy. So in the document, do you get into kind of the history and explain the history of wiffle ball?
Less that than just sort of a nod to its history by being there and kind of showing the factory and, interviewing him. But it's more specifically about trying to find the truth of what happened that one day. Because part of the problem is the tape that it was shot on. Nobody uses that anymore. That's true. This is 35 years ago when we shot it. It was 34. And I had a really difficult time. Literally, I must have called 15 places. Nobody had that type of machine. Now, I could have gone back to ESPN because I know they still have it, but I sort of, for the sake of the film, almost wanted it to be harder. I didn't want it like an easy out. But I didn't even know why I didn't think this in the first place, but I got a dear old friend who works at a Seattle station who's been there 40 years, and I figured they must still have some of that old equipment because, through time you're still, like people do it with their own personal photos and whatnot, right? You take them and you upload them or download them or do whatever, save them on a disc or on a thumbnail or something, but thumb drive, whatever they're called. But yeah, we ended up getting the tape transferred, and we were able to see, and that's a big part of the movie, the moment where, okay, what's on the tape? Because I really haven't looked at it in 30 years, so there it is, and it's playing in front of us.
That is absolutely amazing. Kenny Mayne joining us on the program. Kenny Mayne's Wiffle Ball. It's you can see it this Sunday, 2:00 Central Time on Fubo Sports. And again, if you're a Fubo subscriber, you can see it on demand at any time. So let me the official wiffle ball bat is the yellow bat, correct?
Correct. In fact, my friend, I think I started to mention, broke Babe Ruth's home run record in one summer. Mark Sanford hit 800 some odd home runs. But I remember later we went back, and I still wish we had those books. Like we kept not like a physical scorecard, but just like check marks, home runs, or whatever. And we played so often that he literally, he could hit 70 homers in one day. Like just if you play long enough, a lot of balls are going out, and he was our best player. But on a few occasions, because my sister wasn't home to take us to get the official yellow bat, and maybe it broke or got lost or whatever, somebody would come over with one of those red fat bats. What I'm talking about?
The big old fat ones. Yeah. No,
illegal.
That's clearly illegal.
Illegal exhibition only. But yeah, the yellow bat, and in fact, this is funny. They patented or trademarked, whichever you call it, the color yellow of that bat. I don't even know what that means. Does that mean that you can't paint your house that color without registering it with wiffle? I don't really even know. All I know is it says trademark. The color yellow is trademark, their color.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, I would never guess that you could trademark that, but I guess that you could trademark anything these days. That's sure. Amazing. So that color yellow belongs to wiffle ball.
That's right.
That's absolutely amazing. Yeah, those red bats. That's like the biggest advantage. That's way bigger than any steroids or anything we've ever seen. Like those things. That's flat out cheating using their big red bats.
Yeah, well, it's funny too because it leads to another discussion about how everybody had different ground rules based on, the configuration of their yard and the house. And some places, if you hit it on somebody's roof, that's a home run. Other places, it's an automatic out because it might get stuck in the gutter. Ours was kind of a skinny, very narrow field, just, like almost a rectangle. But we had a real fence my dad built. I don't know what we doctored it with, but we put up advertising in the outfield like you see at minor league baseball fields. Somebody stole a stop sign, or maybe it had fallen over and it was more of a recovery. I don't know which thing happened, but that became home plate. And you go to another friend's house and it was totally different. This was the rule here, and that bush is in and that bush is out. But it made it fun. We grew up on a tiny little lake south of Seattle, so our other field was down by the lake, and a ball hit on the fly into the lake was the home run, right? But it was also kind of dangerous because you had outfielders, trying to bring it back, but it was only like 1.5 foot deep, so for injury purposes, or prevention, I should say, we played mostly at the other field.
Yeah, I remember because we had one tree we had 2 trees that were perfect foul poles, and then in the if you got it to the street, that was a home run. To the road, it was a home run. Like it was there, and it was just everybody has that. Like you knew where you went, you knew the ground rules of that field. That was just what trees were fair and foul, and which ones weren't, and just everybody dealt with that. But it's amazing how everybody has those stories from their childhood of, as you said, and we played some stickball too, as either wiffle ball or stickball that we would play. But yeah, everybody knew. Oh, when we go to his house, that tree's the foul pole.
Yeah, exactly. And you also had your kind of main band of players, right? Ones that were real regular. They could be counted on almost every time. Then you had your secondary flight that sometimes could play, and sometimes they were doing other stuff. And then sort of the third walk-ups, that just happened to be seeing you guys doing it. Hey, you want to join the game? So, but all in all, great neighborhood, great old friends. I'm still very close to a bunch of them, including Mark, who broke the Babe Ruth home run record.
He'll always be known as the guy who broke the home run record.
Yeah.
Kenny Mayne joining us here on Sports 56 Mornings. Again, his new documentary, Wiffle Ball, is coming out. So what other projects, what other things do you have going on now?
Well, we're starting talk about another one similar to this on a wholly different subject that's very much just starting up. I also have really not ready to be announced what it is yet, except that I think it's happening, a new, different podcast. I had done one a couple years ago that was fun. Not sure it didn't take off in the way I hoped, but it was really fun doing it. We got a different deal with a slightly larger company that I hope will give us some success or lead to success. What else am I doing? Making greeting cards.
You're making greeting cards?
For real. It's also in its infancy. It's an idea I've had for like 12 years, and I don't even care if I make a penny off it. I just want it to happen. It's one of those, like, I want to see it through, and working with a company that is trying to develop these things. It's just more of a little sideline. It's just something for fun. It takes me about 3 minutes to write them, so the workload isn't heavy, but it's just experimental.
So you're writing all of these greeting cards for all occasions?
Yeah. Well, it could develop into that. This is what do you relate? My wife's checking my wardrobe for my Sports Center hit. Yeah, it's like, what do we got? Birthdays, Father's Day, Valentine's. I can be sentimental, too. I don't have to just make jokes. So you don't know, right? I'm like, yeah, Gretchen just said I'm very sentimental.
You also have your the Run Freely Foundation, right?
Yes. I wrecked my ankle playing football at UNLV this is how old I am, in 1980, last play of a game, and I, won't bore you with all the details, but I had a million surgeries, and, decades later, it just wasn't great, right? I was limping all the time, and, not even wanting to get out of bed in the mornings because of the pain, and I found a better therapist, this guy in Kirkland, Washington, that kind of brought my leg back to life, Nino Pribic, if you need chiropractic services, and I found a guy in California who made these devices that kind of like displace the pressure off the joint, right, so you can get around and do things again. But then some years later, I found what I think is an even better device in Gig Harbor, Washington. And Gretchen and I, the day I got mine, just said, let's do something good about this, because I was so blown away by the change. Like I always say the same thing. I cried for like 2 hours. I couldn't believe the gift that I just got, right, because I've been dragging this leg around for how many years and not being able to do anything athletically without really suffering for it. So we started Run Freely. The website's runfreely.org. And we've helped, I think we're in the 50s. I should add it up one day. I know we're dozens at this point. So every time we get a right amount of money, we call the guy in charge in Gig Harbor and say, hey, who's next on the list? In fact, if you look at all my socials, Threads and Instagram, and still hanging on X for a minute more, there's pictures of the latest guy. It just happened yesterday. It's really cool. And he was just walking. That's kind of like the first thing to do. I think they have a method, because I always see everybody kind of do the same. They walk up a little hill, then they walk in the parking lot, and then if they're ready to try it, they try the treadmill, and then you go from there. That's awesome. He literally, today's Friday, he got his on Thursday, and it's just a blessing every time you see the notes back, the thank yous, and they thank me, but they should be thanking everybody who hears about it, because the last guy got funded for a fundraiser we had in Seattle a month or so ago. 100 people showed up and watched my movie, and then we did a little auction afterward and raised enough money to buy the next one. So Mike Penix helped out, Joe Montana's helped out, Dale Earnhardt, like Steve Kerr. I could list a whole bunch of good names that did little events that helped raise a little bit of money, and each time it kind of took us farther down the field for whoever was next. The very first event, we had Jamal Crawford, Gary Payton, Steve Largent, Jerry Rice, and Lenny Wilkins.
Wow.
That's a pretty good crew.
Yeah, that's
and so in my head, I thought we were going to sell out Key Arena, which is now Climate Pledge, but ended up at a high school east of Seattle. But it was great. It was a very small time, but we kicked it off, and we just keep putting out the word. Every time one of us has a chance to tell somebody about it, they go to the website eventually, and they tell their rich friends to donate, and away we go.
That is awesome stuff. One thing I've always wanted to ask you before we let you go, did you ever, you got into the sports side of things. Obviously, you guys, you're a former athlete, college quarterback, all that stuff. How did you kind of get towards the comedy side? Was that always something you kind of wanted to do? Did you ever try and do any stand-up comedy? How did you kind of find that lane where you fit in so perfectly?
Well, it's funny because originally I didn't even want to do sports. When I went to school, like I said, I played football and took journalism and speech and political science and all the broadcasting courses, and I was directed toward, I was hoping to start out in local news and then move up from there and maybe be making my own documentaries, that were on a more serious nature. But at my old station, when I first got there, it was just a Monday through Friday place. They literally had no weekend news. We always joked, if there's news on the weekends, it's news to us. But my second year, the first few years, I wasn't even on the air. I was just sort of a behind-the-scenes person. Then I was a writer, then a producer, and I finally moved up only because one girl named Alice Blanchard quit to go be an attorney, and they had a hiring freeze, and they needed one more person, and there I was. There weren't too many choices. So I kind of fell into all of it, persistence, but also was in the right place. So when they added the weekend show, my news director was like, hey, you played football, you're doing sports. So it truly wasn't even on my mind to do it that way, but as I started to get kind of control, I had no boss. It was just me and the other guy on the weekend. There was nobody above us. We just kind of got to make it up as we went, and kind of leaning toward doing it a little more comedically. It just started working. It wasn't as polished back then for sure, but it was sort of a good outlet and a good way to do it. And they let us experiment. So I give them credit for kind of giving us a lot of room to play and see if we could figure out how to do it the best.
That's awesome. And again, you were absolutely great. Is there any one of your features or stories that you did when you in your whole time at ESPN that you always say is that was the best one or my favorite one?
Well, there's a couple. There's a one incident that would be, I'll never forget. I got Stevie Wonder to do a line for me. Just I wrote it, and he needed to deliver the one line, and it was, I can't be at the baseball All-Star game. I have a high ankle sprain. I felt like I didn't need to do any more after that, but I actually did because I still had bills to pay. But I was just thinking of this the other day. We did so many fun things. All the NFL stories were a blast. There's 100 of those, and the horse racing was fun. The sports centers, the immediacy and the danger of being on live TV and all that. The Main Street show, remember I did Allison Becker and Aubrey Plaza and all sorts of people. and then the wider world of sports where we travel around the world and did all these things. But there was one in particular football story that just stands out for just how insane and how we hung in there and made something happen when it looked like we were crashing. Do you remember Tony Sirico? He played Paulie Walnuts in The Sopranos.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And he and some of the other Soprano members had done me a couple favors. They'd shown up for a little half-hour shoot to be involved in a couple of my stories. He calls me the week of the Super Bowl, literally Monday of the Sunday coming up, and wants 4 tickets. And I said, yeah, let me look. I was figuring I could tell him I'll try. It won't work out, and at least he knows I tried. And he's like, I know you can do it, kid. And he just hangs up. I'm like, did I just get threatened by this? Like, I thought he liked me. Like, what's happening here? So we slept on it, but ultimately Ben Weber was my producer and friend. We're like, let's just make that our story. That's so ridiculous that a Sopranos guy sort of threatened you to get him Super Bowl tickets. We'll make our story your daily search for 4 tickets for Sopranos. And so we did. And ultimately, we blew up a car in the desert. We bought a car, and we were in a conversation about, it was so cool if we could blow up the car, just like, we're running away from the Sopranos. And this lady standing next to us said, I happen to know a guy who's a munitions expert. He lives out in the desert. Like, she was 2 feet from us and heard us talking. Now we got his number. So we bought the car. We blew up the car. Dave Craig, the former quarterback, was on a horse at some point.
Oh, my God.
A whole bunch of things happened, but only because we didn't quit on the project, and we thought unconventionally, like, what can we do that's a little unusual this week?
That is great stuff. And again, Kenny Mayne's new documentary, Wiffle Ball. Again, it's showing this Sunday, 2 o'clock Central Time here in Memphis. You can check it out on Fubo. You can, again, if you're a Fubo subscriber, you can check it out anytime. That's the way to see it, right? Is on Fubo.
Fubo's it. You can go through Roku as well, and I should know because I'm pumping my own product, and I forgot the other name. There's another way. I'll tell you what. If you want to see it, I bet you'll see it. If you put in Wiffle Ball, Kenny Mayne's Wiffle Ball,
you'll find it.
It'll show up, just like you can find a lot of things these days. But for sure, for those who already are subscribers to Fubo and getting all their sports that way, that's an easy one. Just like we watched something last night on Netflix. You go up and you search what's new or what's under documentaries and click on it, and it takes 30 minutes. Plus, I like it I'm pushing the holiday notion. This Thanksgiving might be tough for some families, gathering together, and this will be a good way to meet in the middle and go watch wiffle ball for a half hour.
Sounds great. Kenny, thank you so much for your time, man. Best of luck with your other projects you've got coming up.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate you.
Kenny Mayne, former ESPN personality. He is absolutely fantastic. When we come back, we'll talk with our buddy Brandon Lang, another great personality. And there's always the tie-in, and Brandon always loves to talk about the yellow wiffle ball bat, so it works out perfect. Brandon Lang next on Sports 56 Mornings at Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11 here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
When you're working outdoors, unpredictability is the norm, so tackle your toughest jobs with the 2025 Honda Pioneer 700. This rugged side-by-side brings power to any party with reliable torque for towing and smooth shifting for the trails. And you can choose between 3 trims, Standard, Deluxe, or the True Timber Force Edition, equipped for ultimate backwoods adventures. See the 2025 Honda Pioneer 700 today at DeSoto Honda, 5656 Newman Road in Olive Branch. For safety reasons,
happen.
Hi, I'm Chandler Martin, linebacker for the University of Memphis football. You need cash? Refinance your auto loan with Southern Security and have no payment for 60 days. Southern Security will finance up to 115% of the current value of your vehicle for up to 72 months. To find out how to put more cash in your pocket, call our member service team at 901-452-7900 or apply on our website, southernsecurity.org. Southern Security is a proud supporter of University of Memphis Athletics. Southern Security, your home team credit union. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Now back to Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56 and 95 FM. This hour brought to you by Jenkins Floors and More. And once again, Mark Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back here in the Family Leisure Studios. Thanks again to Kenny Mayne for joining us here on the program. Some good stuff there from him. And again, you can check out that new documentary called Wiffle Ball. Again, it'll be showing on Sunday, but if you're a Fubo subscriber, you can check it out anytime. Time now for Brandon Lang.
It's time to handicap this week's action. Joining Greg and Eli.
Oh, gosh darn it. We got to start telling them they can't do that. All right. The intro got screwed up again, but he is Brandon Lang. What's up, Brandon?
I would tell you the story about when I was working for the Pacino character, and I was driving my Porsche to Atlantic City. I was doing about $120 on the Garden State Parkway, and I see the cop in my rearview mirror, and so I busted up to 145, 165, and he can't catch me. And I kind of think to myself, oh boy, he's going to have people waiting up there ahead of me. I'm up. You know what? Let me just stop. This is stupid. I'm just stopped. So I pull over the side of the road, get out of my car, have my license, registration, proof of insurance all ready. I'm like, this is going to get ugly. So he pulls up, he gets out of his car, he's yelling and screaming, you understand? In 10 minutes, I'm getting off work. I'm taking my wife and kids on vacation. I'm chasing your butt down there. What is wrong with you? Give me one good reason. One good reason why I shouldn't take you in. I looked at him for a second. I said, well, let me be honest with you, Officer Collins. I said, 10 years ago, my wife ran away with a policeman. I really thought you were bringing her back to me. This man looked at me. He said, you better do 55 in Atlantic City. I said, you got it, officer. Have a nice vacation with your family. Nah, it's a joke. I'm just kidding. It's a joke. But good one, right? Good one, right?
That is a good one. So I just had Kenny Mayne on. Have you ever had any? Yep. Have you ever crossed paths with Kenny?
I've seen him at Radio Row and said hello. Yep. Like his work, always have. And when he was going to do he had a talk show. He had a talk show back in the day. And I was in L.A., and he was doing a mock show. And so I went on his show, which the mock show wasn't going to air. Mm-hmm. He was just needed just to go over. You probably will never remember this, but I went on his show. We did a segment. And it's right after the movie came out, 06, 07, right in there. He had a show. He had Google it. He had a show that made the air. But he was doing a couple of pre-mock shows just to get taped. And I went in and we did a segment, and it was great. It was great. It was I can't remember what he asked me. It was like a list. It was name 5 things that you would like, whatever, and I named the 5 things, and it was great. It was great. We had a blast. So
it was interesting because he's got this new thing out called Wiffle Ball. It's about a segment he did in 1989 with Ken Griffey Jr. And this documentary is about finding the truth of what happened that day. But you always like to bring up the yellow wiffle ball bat. That's what you always want to go beat somebody with the yellow wiffle ball bat.
Because it'll be a misdemeanor, not a felony.
Did you know? Like he told me that wiffle ball actually has that color yellow trademarked.
Not surprising.
Gosh, I didn't even know that would be a thing. But they have that the yellow bat, that color of yellow is trademarked by wiffle ball.
Not surprising. We actually took when we were kids. We actually took aluminum foil and made a ball, and then put duct tape over the aluminum foil, and then we made a ball. And my brother and I would go in the garage, and literally from, Terry Collins, the manager of the Astros, started off managing Angels, Astros, and then the Mets. Terry would come back to Midland, Michigan, which is where he is from and where he went to high school, and My high school baseball coach is married to Terry's sister, so Terry's known me since I was 10. But I have a brother who passed away years ago who, if you ran into Terry Collins, if you somehow ran into Terry Collins and you said to Terry Collins, hey, we have a mutual friend, Brandon Lang, he will look at you and he will say two things. He will say, one, that's one crazy SOB, I'll tell you right now, with a smile on his face. And the next thing he would say, 100%, but I'll tell you what, his brother Billy could hit a baseball. And I've had people run into him and ask him that. And that's exactly what he said. He felt that when he was in the Dodgers organization, he would come back to Midland in the winters, and my brother was 16 years old, and he'd take my brother, no other member of the baseball team, just my brother. And he'd take my brother into the gym, and I'd be tagging right along there, 9, 10 years old. He'd hit us ground balls in the gym. I'd be right there with my brother, hitting rockets, fielding. Then he'd take us upstairs to the jugs machine and jack it up to 90, and we take BP. And I would sit there and rake just like I was a better baseball player than anything I ever did in my life. But I just loved basketball more. I just did. I didn't play baseball my senior year, and believe me, Frank Altamore, who's married to Terry's sister, was so pissed at me not playing baseball my senior year. Like it took him years to get over it. But and most of that was because from 30 feet away, throwing a duct tape ball with a wiffle ball bat, and literally just learning how to hit from that distance. So there's your wiffle ball story.
So last week the paddle game was an easy winner. Your Broncos, that was no problem.
Yep. She's angry. She's angry, because she's, we joke about it, but she's a very dominant woman, and she likes to exert her dominance. So when I have to make her submit and just kind of walk around all cocky, she's like, it's good. It's good. So we got another good one this week.
Was it a good week overall?
We'll get to it. Whiffed in on Saturday. Just got on the wrong side of a game, and I was on Florida, and at the last minute, I just didn't think USC could beat Nebraska by more than 7.5, and would you know it, they beat them by 8, and it's like I'm sitting there watching the game with my girl, and I believe it was 17-14, and Nebraska, it was 14-10. And Nebraska gets the turnover at what was the final, 28-20? I'm sorry, it was 17. It was 17-14. And Nebraska gets the turnover late third quarter, 1st and 10 at the USC 15-yard line. And I tell my girl, I said, touchdown here, cover. We get 24, it's a cover. Yeah, absolutely. And they don't score. They kick the field goal. And wouldn't you know it, it's 20-14, 21-20. 28-20. And I will tell you this, just to give me 30 seconds. Matt Rule could be the dumbest coach in college football history. He got the ball back down 28-20 with 2:22 to go and 2 timeouts. They got it down to the 20-yard line with 9 seconds and had 1 shot at the end zone. Guess how many timeouts he had? 2. Never used them. They got to midfield with 1:30 on a 2nd and 2, call timeout. Save yourself 19 seconds. Didn't call timeout. Snapped the play with 44 seconds. And I did all of the research I could. Not one reporter in any press conference after the game asked him, hey, Coach, you had 2 timeouts with 2:13 to go and didn't use one of them. Would you mind taking us through what your mindset was in that last drive? And that takes me back to my Bill Vinovich story when I was on a plane with him. And I said, what's the number one thing you see when you're an NFL referee to clock management? These idiots don't know how. He said he used the word idiot. So these idiots don't know how to manage the clock. Pro and college. Yeah. They just don't. So that's a tough beat, buddy. Half point. Came back on Sunday with the Bills over KC. And then Monday, the Texans over Dallas. And I'll tell you another heartbreaking story before we get into the game.
I thought you said last week on the show that you weren't going to mess with the Chiefs because the Chiefs are the Chiefs.
And the more I looked at it, the more I studied it, the more I realized that once Bo Nix and Denver had them beat, and once I really kept looking and digging into the Chiefs, there was no way they were going to beat Buffalo. There was just no way. They're not good enough offensively to beat Buffalo. and their defense, which got exposed by Baker Mayfield on Monday night. There's no way I think the Chiefs' defense is a bit overrated. I'm gonna be, and people go, "You're crazy. Their numbers are this, their numbers are that." No. They don't get stops when they need to. When you got a Tampa Bay team that Baltimore put up 41 on and just destroyed, and Baker Mayfield went into on that Monday night game against the Chiefs and went in there without his top 3 receivers and should have beat them outright. I said, there's a problem there. There's a problem there that's getting masked because they're winning. And now let's see what they do with their schedule because they got some tough games coming up.
Yeah. All right, let's get to this weekend's action. We'll start in the NFL. You got the Harbaugh Bowl. Ravens and Chargers, 2 really good teams here. Which Harbaugh do you like?
It's funny. I keep going back and forth with this game. I do. And you know me going back to time at Michigan, I can't stand Jim Harbaugh. But I can't see, with Baltimore's defense being as bad as it is, I can't see them stopping the Chargers. Conversely, I believe that you look at this Chargers defense, and everybody says they're the number 1 defense in the NFL. Statistically speaking, they're the number 1 defense in the NFL. Did you see what Joe Burrows and that offense of Cincinnati did to him in the second half?
Mm-hmm.
Just went up and down the field on him. Up and down the field like it was nothing. So for me, I think plays the over. I do. I think this game's going to be high 20s, both of them. And I don't think Baltimore's going to be able to stop the Chargers. But I don't think the Chargers are going to be able to stop Baltimore. I think it'll be just like the Cincinnati game last week. Same division, at home, 34-25, 62 points. Over is 51. I'm going to play over Chargers, Baltimore.
I feel like we keep waiting for the 49ers to become like what we thought they were. You get McCaffrey back, but then last week they lose to Seattle. Do they figure it out this week in Green Bay? I
keep looking at this game, and you keep looking at this Niner team. And as bad as Dallas is, they still struggle to beat them. Lost KC, lost to Arizona at home, lost to the Chargers on the road, lost to Minnesota on the road. I think listen, not a game I love, but if I were going to take the Niners up to 3.5 or the Green Bay down to -2.5, I will take Green Bay down to 2.5. The only home loss this year was to Minnesota and Detroit by 2. I just think this is a must-win for Green Bay in that division, and I think the Niners are in trouble. People are talking about where they're going to win their division and they're going to, they're going to be the team to beat in that division. Have you looked at their schedule, the Niners? Because if they don't get their crap together, after they play Green Bay, they got to go to Buffalo. That's a loss. Then they'll beat Chicago. Then they'll face the Rams. Then they got Miami, Detroit, and at Arizona. Well, they ain't winning down in Miami, and they ain't beat Detroit at home.
Yeah.
They got a tricky schedule. I'm not going to touch the game, but I would feel more confident taking Green Bay down to 2.5. San Francisco's just, for me, they're too banged up across the board.
2 of the teams that have beaten them, the Cardinals, Seahawks, which now that becomes a huge game in the NFC West. Seahawks a slight favorite at home against the Cardinals, who've been playing really well.
I can't figure Seattle out. I just can't. They lose at home. L.A. get blown out at home by Buffalo. They go and look great at Atlanta. They lose at home to the Giants 29-20. I just can't back a team that lost at home to the New York Giants. That's simple. Yeah. I just can't. The Giants. There's an Instagram video, you got to find it, where Daniel Jones, when he was on the 5-yard line against the Eagles, broke free and was running down the right sideline for a touchdown. And it was like an 85, 90-yard run, and there was nobody around him. And when he got to the 15-yard line, he just tripped and fell. It's like an invisible person tripped him. So then somebody put an Instagram video up where, as he's running, it cuts to Bradley Cooper and Sniper shooting, and then Daniel Jones goes down. It's epic. Find it. It's epic. So I'm going to take Arizona.
Are we to the point with the Lions at this point that you can bet them blindly until they burn you?
I saw a stat the other day that since he took over head coach of the Detroit Lions, the last 2 years, the number 1 coach in the NFL against the spread, Dan Campbell. The man just covers numbers. He said, we didn't take our foot off the gas pedal last week in Jacksonville. I mean, that was epic. You know, but a couple weeks before that, Tennessee put up 50. But with that being said, this is a sneaky little underdog here. I mean, listen, I thought the line was going to be like 3.5, 4. It's 7.5. And their last 10 games versus a team with a winning percentage of greater than 800, Colts are 10-0 against the spread. I'm going to take the Colts plus 7.5.
That's an interesting number right there.
Yep.
What's the paddle game?
That's it.
Really?
That's it.
Wow.
Yep. Colts.
Risky
Colts
paddle
plus,
game going against the Lions.
I think it's the same kind of game as they had, if you think about it, against the Houston Texans. You know, they went out to Houston, and if you look at Detroit, they were a 3.5-point road favorite. And they struggled, won by 3. I could see them winning this game by 3 and not covering the 7.5.
In college, the stuff we talked about on the show last week, you nailed, I think, like every college game that we talked about last week. This week, of course.
And then, like an idiot, I used Nebraska on the website.
The one we didn't talk about, because your Florida thing was certainly dead on. Indiana, Ohio State. Which way you going?
Yeah, I loved it at 13.5. I still like it at plus 10.5. And I can't, I can't. Sometimes people say you're not supposed to compare apples to oranges. Well, I just, after watching the entire Nebraska USC game and trying to figure out one thing, Nebraska went into Indiana, and that defense of Nebraska, especially their defensive front, which is pretty good, gave up 52 points. A week later, that same defense that gave up 52 points went into Ohio State, lost 21-17, had the ball at midfield with 4 minutes to go, 1st and 10, with a chance to go down and win the game outright. And that freshman quarterback, just he's going to be good. But, boy, I don't know if that kid can spell spot. You gave him the SPO. He can't make a read to see. There was a play when I told you they needed to get a touchdown to get to 24, and on 3rd and 4, the read was to the left, and the guy's wide open for a touchdown, and he looks right at it and is afraid to throw it, takes the check down for 3 yards. I about broke the TV. Moral of the story. I can't. Indiana's getting no respect. I know they haven't played anybody, but I'm going to tell you something right now. They have beaten the doors off every single team, and the only game they didn't cover was against Michigan, who actually has a defense but no offense. I can't go against them. I love the coach, and more importantly, a full week to prepare. If you can't blow out Nebraska, I will be absolutely shocked if this game doesn't go down the wire.
Does Notre Dame pound Army?
You know, I was looking at this and looking at this and looking at this, and I was kind of leaning toward Army because it's just a great story, and I was in the military. But the more I think about it, I think it's just like the Navy game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Navy, first 3 possessions, got into Notre Dame territory and just the physicality and executing and just wore on them and took over, and then they just destroyed them. And I remember sitting in the sports book, went into Vegas, as you know, a couple weeks ago, got married, and I did a 5-team parlay, and I had Army first half over North Texas, Texas Tech first half over Colorado, I had Ole Miss first half over Georgia. I hit it. It was great. I picked up like $4,000 and just first half plays. And I was watching the Army North Texas game because I had Army minus the points. And A, North Texas went up and down the field on them and imploded inside the 10-yard line. And B, Army struggled offensively. North Texas defense, they gave up close to 50 last Friday against UTSA. I'm not buying. I think their undefeated streak comes to an end. Navy was undefeated when they played Army, when they played Notre Dame, got blown out. I think the same thing happens here. I'm going to lay the number.
Couple of quick ones here. We've liked BYU all year. They lose last week. They're an underdog this week in a huge game against Arizona State. Who do you like?
You know, it's funny. I talk to people who like BYU in this game. And I was kind of one of the first people, as you know, that was on BYU this year. I had them when they went into SMU. They were plus 11 and held SMU, that high-powered offense, to 18, and they won. But when Oklahoma State had a chance to beat them and didn't get it done, when Utah had a chance to get them beat and didn't get it done, and then Kansas finally went in there and got it done, I think they've been living on borrowed time all year long. And I've told people, I used Arizona State over Utah on Friday night a few weeks ago, and they won the game outright. They quietly have put together an incredible season. They have 2 road losses. They lost at Cincinnati, and they lost at Texas Tech. Other than that, they've been rock solid. I think it's over for BYU. I took Arizona State.
All right, and in 10 seconds here, you liked Florida last week, didn't use them. You've kind of gone against Ole Miss a decent amount this year. Florida, Ole Miss, which side?
I'm going to take the points. Their defense is playing well. And if Lagaway doesn't go out against Georgia, I think that Florida beats Georgia. As crazy as that sounds. Once he went out, they brought in that kid from Yale. He just wasn't ready to play, and Georgia pulled away. I'm going to take the points here.
He is Brandon Lang. BrandonLang.com is the website. You can check him out on the Believe Podcast Network. No show next week, but we'll talk to you in 2 weeks, Brandon.
Got to have a great Thanksgiving.
You too, man. Brandon Lang joining us here on the program. Folks, with the holiday season upon us, again, next Friday is Black Friday. Shopping time is here. Get on over to Genesis Diamonds if you're thinking about jewelry of any kind for that special someone this holiday season. Genesis Diamonds has you taken care of. They've got new merchandise being brought in for the holiday season, fresh cut diamonds, latest styles, and all the finest jewelry you can find. Something for every budget, something for every taste out there. They've got you at Genesis Diamonds. Whether you're thinking about getting engaged and need that beautiful engagement ring, or maybe it's just a necklace or a pair of earrings or a pre-owned Rolex watch, whatever it is you're looking for that perfect holiday gift, you'll find it at Genesis Diamonds, Poplar at Perkins Extended. We'll wrap things up right after this. Sport 56, 98.5 FM.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Locally owned and operated for over 40 years, Automatic Gates Construction tailors custom gate solutions for all your residential, commercial, and industrial needs, including repairs, maintenance, and installation. Automatic Gates Construction specializes in designing and installing automatic gates and fencing that seamlessly blends security, functionality, and aesthetic appeal. Elevate the safety and efficiency of your property with a premium gate solution. Automatic Gates Construction at myautomaticgates.com.
Bobby J's ready to start the season of tradition and Gossett Kia on Covington Pike, and that means it's the right time to let Bobby J put you in a new Kia today. 2025 Kia K4 LXS at $199 a month, less than $7 a day for a new ride. And 2024 K5 $269 a month, both $34.99 due at signing. All 24-month lease plus spacious 8-seater SUV, high towing capacity, and all-terrain tires in 2025. Telluride $348 a month, $39.99 due at signing. Plus, get peace of mind with Kia's 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain limited warranty. So call Bobby J and let him put you in a new Kia today. Gossett Kia 1900 Covington Pike, online, KiaCovingtonPike.com. If you want it, we got it at Gossett Motor Cars. 650 acquisition fee, K4 LXS, SEO 29100, MSRP 24230, Telluride RG 529 196, MSRP 41730, K5 S53 231 33, MSRP 28330. Must finance through Kia. Excludes tax title and license with approved credit. Dealer stock only. See dealer for complete details. Valid through 12/2/24.
Looking for a high-efficiency planting solution? The Case IH 2150 Early Riser Planter combines the industry's most accurate planter technologies with a rugged row unit for fast and uniform emergence. The Case IH 2150 Early Riser operates at your speed and adapts to unique field conditions so that you can maximize your yield potential. Stop in or call Mid-South Ag Equipment at 662-890-3141 to learn more. That's Mid-South Ag, your Case IH Equipment headquarters.
Lots of our fans have gone to see Genesis Diamonds, and they are amazed. Hey, it's Eric Hasseltine, and Genesis is fast becoming the go-to place for people here when it comes to engagement rings and fine designer jewelry. They also have a ton of luxury pre-owned Rolexes. Genesis guarantees the best diamond prices, period. They are a direct diamond importer with no middleman, which means incredible value for you. Genesis turned the old-school jewelry business model upside down with slimmer margins, more selection, no commission salespeople, and stronger warranties. They have every diamond you can imagine, natural and lab-grown diamonds in every shape and every size. Genesis has thousands of designer engagement rings from top designers that you won't find at other stores. And keep this in mind with the holidays around the corner. Genesis has case after case of incredible diamond fashion rings, diamond eternity bands, diamond earrings, diamond necklaces, colored gemstones at every possible price point. All of this in a beautiful new showroom with great local experts who will teach you how to buy like a dealer buys. Genesis Diamonds, you will love it at Poplar and Perkins Extended.
Sports 56 mornings on Sports 56 and 95 FM. This hour brought to you by James Floors and More. Here once again are Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy.
Welcome back here in the Family Leisure Studios. This hour is brought to you by Jenkins Floors and More. Thanks to Brandon Lang and Kenny Mayne for joining us this hour. John Varlas earlier in the program. Of course, the Grizzlies in action tomorrow night on the road in Chicago before they return home for 4 games next week with around the Thanksgiving holiday. They'll be home Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday of next week. Of course, Tiger football off this week. They'll get ready for their Thanksgiving Day game down at Tulane next week. But you do have Ole Miss, Florida. And we'll have that game tomorrow morning. They'll kick off at 11. We'll have the pregame beginning at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning here on Sports 56. And then Sunday, Vikings, Bears, Cardinals, Seahawks, and Eagles, Rams, all on this station. And then Monday Night Football, of course, Ravens and Chargers in the Harbaugh Bowl. Don't know if you saw this or not last night, but we have a new match. The match is back, although this includes no professional golfers whatsoever. It's called the Match Superstars, and it's a 2-night event, so it continues tonight. Last night they did matches. It was 2-man scrambles. And your teams were Mark Wahlberg and Michael Phelps against Blake Griffin and Nate Bargatze. And Wahlberg and Phelps won that match. And then Charles Barkley and Ken Griffey Jr. took on Wayne Gretzky and Bill Murray. And Gretzky and Murray won that match. So tonight, now those teams, they actually go individual head-to-head. So tonight it'll be Wahlberg versus Phelps and Gretzky versus Murray, and then the 2 winners advance to play in the championship match of that. It's on TNT again tonight. It was on there last night. It'll be on again tonight. You can also watch it on Max if you want to stream it. But yeah, I had no idea they were even doing this. So I got an alert last night that it was starting, and I turned it on. And I'll say this, Blake Griffin and Nate Bargatze were absolutely awful. They got destroyed. Gretzky and Murray in the Barkley-Griffey match, that was a good one. That went 3 or 4 extra holes, I believe it was, before that one was finally decided. But tonight they go into individual matchups between the 2 winning teams from last night. That is going to do it for us today. Greg will be back on the program on Monday. I'll be here, of course, as well. And, of course, Monday we'll be recapping the weekend in sports and getting ready for the Tiger basketball game, their first game of the Maui Classic, Maui Invitational, which will come up Monday afternoon, 1:30 Central Time will be the start time for that game as they will take on UConn on Monday. Again, thank you to John Varlas, to Kenny Mayne, and to Brandon Lang for joining on the program today. Thanks to Elijah Seegers for another great job today and all week long. We thank you all for listening and joining us here on Sports 56 Mornings. Coming up next, it is Wolo and Friends. Bryant will be in with Wolo and Friends here on Sports 56. Have yourself a great weekend. We'll talk to you again Monday morning here on Sports 56 Mornings on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Someone you know or care about has dealt with a difficult divorce. When facing divorce, you need the attorneys at Rice Law. Nick and Larry Rice lead the firm with 3 generations and 7 decades of experience. Located in Memphis, serving the entire state of Tennessee and North Mississippi. Rice Law is who you need to call. Simple or difficult divorce, they know how to handle it. Call Rice Law at 901-526-6701, or for more information, visit them at aboutdivorce.com. That's aboutdivorce.com.
Moving is stressful, but Black Tie Moving can take the worry out of the process. Whether you're moving across town or across country, moving your home or your office, your personal moving concierge from Black Tie Moving will work with you to design a plan that perfectly fits your budget and needs. And they're available 24/7 to answer any questions you have. Give Black Tie Moving a call at 901-316-6196 or go to blacktiemoving.com/Memphis to get your personal, no obligation quote from the moving experts at Black Tie Moving.
Everyone needs protection, whether you're on the field or on the road, so make sure you have the best. Bob Simpson State Farm Insurance can buckle you up with auto insurance, can back you up with life and health insurance, cover your business whether it's starting, growing, or maturing, and don't forget to insure your home, no matter if you're an owner or a renter. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call Bob Simpson today at 901-381-1233 or go online and get a free quote at bobsimpson.org. Stay protected with your good neighbor, Bob Simpson.
Holiday season with Black Friday and Cyber Monday deals from Sunrise Chevrolet Buick GMC of Coleman. Choose a 24 GMC Sierra 1500 4x4 or 24 Silverado 1500 4x4 with $4,000 deal discount. Sunrise Chevrolet Buick GMC of Coleman. We make it fun to buy a car.
Price does not include licensing costs, registration fees, taxes, and dealer doc fee of $899.50, which are to be paid by the consumer. Silverado RG 355,553, MSRP 57,330. Dealer discount 4,002. Sierra RZ 325,360, MSRP 54,330. Dealer discount 4,000. Expires 12/2/24.
Admit it. When you start thinking about tastes of Memphis, you think treats, sweets. You think Dinstall's. For 122 years now. What is that, 5 generations? When people wanted something to bring to a party that will just make everybody happy, they bring out Dinstall's. 122 years of Cashew Crunch, of Heavenly Hash, of Turtlettes, of their award-winning fudge. That's worldwide. It's known that well. Then there's the milk chocolate. It all starts there. There's the double-dip peanuts. And then every fall, those famous chocolate-covered strawberries with that fondant. And they won't tell you what's in the fondant, but it makes it oh so special. And easy to get to. 5 locations. There's where they make the candies in Pleasant View. There's Germantown. There's Collierville. There's even one downtown and in my neck of the woods in Laurelwood. You know what? 122 years made in Memphis and enjoyed by the whole world. Dinstall's.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studios, we are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis. It's time for Whoa, friends, on Sports 56.